Assembly stated that the delegation of voting by proxy, further, that the proxy letters were available as evidence of the said delegation. Versus West End Distributors, 1969 EA, page 696, which set out the threshold for a preliminary objection. In particular, Council stated that the issues raised and in question, that is the number of persons who voted, was a contested fact that ought not to be argued at the preliminary stage. He further stated that although the Governor's Council had indicated that there was evidence of affidavits sworn by 4 members of the County Assembly, averring that they did not delegate such authority, the County Assembly would, at the hearing, provide evidence of mobile telephone and email communication to counter this allegation. It was therefore not possible for the Senate to make a determination on the matter at the preliminary stage without hearing evidence on the matter. Now, Council further argued that although proxy voting was not expressly provided for in the standing orders, the Speaker of the Nyamira County Assembly had exercised the discretion provided for Standing Order 1 of the Nyamira County Assembly Standing Orders to allow for the proxy voting. He further stated that although the standing orders were silent in expressly providing for proxy voting, this did not bar the use of proxy voting in the Assembly. Now, Honorable Senators, following the oral submissions on the preliminary objection and the responses, Senator Edwin Sifuna, Senator Enoch Wambua, and Senator Boni Halwale sought various clarifications from Council, including on the relationship between provisions on the Constitution, on vacation of office by members of Parliament or county assemblies, vis-a-vis the provisions of law as that set out threshold for voting on a matter, at what point the membership of a county assembly is determined after election, or whether this is a moving target, and whether it will not be prudent to give the county assembly the opportunity to adduce evidence on the matters raised in the preliminary objection in the main hearing. Subsequently, the respective council gave the responses to the questions and clarifications sought by honorable senators. Arising from the preliminary issues canvassed, the following are the issues that require determination by the Senate. 1, whether the preliminary objection raised qualifies as a preliminary objection, properly so called, and whether, therefore, its determination must precede the further progress of the current impeachment process. And 2, if the answer to the first issue is in the affirmative, then whether the 2/3 threshold required for voting on the impeachment motion of the County Assembly was met. Now, honorable senators, I shall commence with the first question, which is whether the preliminary objection raised qualifies as a preliminary objection properly so called, and whether, therefore, is determined. The Senate has previously proceedings. The question of what constitutes a preliminary objection was well set out in the leading case of Mukisa Biscuit Manufacturing Company Limited versus West End Distributors. And this is what, in that matter, the court held. A preliminary objection consists of a point of law which has been pleaded or which arises by clear implication out of the pleadings, and which, if argued as a preliminary point, may dispose of the suit. A preliminary objection raises a pure point of law which is argued on the assumption that all facts pleaded by the other side are correct. It cannot be raised if any fact has to be ascertained or if what is sought is the exercise of judicial discretion. Now, honorable senators, in light of this similar decision, it is now well settled and established in our practice that a preliminary objection does not require evidence to be adduced as proof of its existence. It is limited to points of law and cannot be raised if a fact has to be ascertained by the use of evidence to be adduced. Reference has been variously made by counsel for the governor and counsel for the county assembly to the jurisprudence that has been laid down by this House in the 2 Kericho impeachment matters, now commonly referred to as Kericho 1 and Kericho 2, in which the Senate arrived at different conclusions on the nature of preliminary objection and the appropriate place at which to make a determination. In fact, there was no contradiction in the determinations made by this House in Kericho 1 and Kericho 2. In Kericho 1, the Senate determined that a classical preliminary objection was one which is purely on a matter of law and which required no evidence to be adduced for its determination. In that case, it was not in contention that the number of county assembly members who had voted in support of the impeachment motion was 31. It was also not in contention that the total number of Kericho County Assembly members was 47. The only question was whether 31 members constituted the two-thirds threshold as required by law. In Kericho 2, on the other hand, the question was whether some of the county assembly members alleged to have voted in support of the motion did actually vote. This was a matter requiring evidence to be adduced, including the examination and cross-examination of the said county assembly members, and accordingly, this was not a matter that could be determined at a preliminary level without hearing the evidence. Kericho 2 was therefore ruled to belong to the second category of preliminary objection that can only be reasonably subsumed in the full hearing, but for which a determination by the Senate would have to be made at the end before the proceedings to vote on the charges. The question, therefore, is whether the current preliminary objection belongs to the jurisprudence of Kericho 1 or Kericho 2. Now, honorable senators, in the current impeachment proceedings, it is not in contention that there were 19 members in the County Assembly of Nyamira present and voting at the time of impeachment. Secondly, although there is contestation about the validity of the votes purportedly cast by proxy by another 4 members, there is no contestation that the total number of members who voted did not exceed 23 members. The County Assembly, by its own admission, has submitted a list of 23 members as having supported the impeachment. The governor's side, on the other hand, object to this impeachment on the basis that the correct threshold should have been 24 members rather than any lesser number. What is in contention, therefore, is whether the threshold of members required to have voted in the matter is 24 or 23 or lesser number. What is additionally in contention is whether in reckoning the two-thirds threshold, the number of members of the County Assembly is to be applied as 35 or 32. The legal question in contention is whether the number of legislators of the County Assembly remains fixed and unaffected by any vacancies for the purposes of reckoning thresholds, or whether, as Councillor Katwa Keegan for the County Assembly argues, it is a moving target that cannot be reckoned in advance and depends on the membership of the Assembly at a particular time having subtracted any vacancies existing. Now, honorable senators will appreciate that this is a constitutional and legal questions of the most fundamental ramifications, the decision on which reverberate far and wide and well beyond Nyamira County Assembly, and possibly including this chamber, where at various times and for various reasons we have had vacancies. The decision the Senate takes on this legal question will no doubt bind us going forward in the manner in which we reckon delegations for purposes of voting when there are vacancies in the Senate. From this perspective, it is clear to me that even if the impeachment was undertaken was 24 or 23 or any lesser number is a pure question of law whose determination by the Senate is necessary before these proceedings can continue. This is a preliminary objection of Kericho 1 typology. Honorable senators, this legal question goes to the substratum of the impeachment proceedings and has the prospect of terminating the proceedings at this point. Accordingly, and as I've guided from this chair before, this kind of preliminary objection raised by the governor requires to be determined by a vote of the Senate, which is the trial court in the impeachment matters. It also obviates the need to answer the second question on whether the threshold was met. Whether the threshold was met, as this is what will be the subject of the vote. Now, the manner of proceedings to this vote will be a motion, moved in the usual manner after notice of motion has been given. Debate will ensue in the usual manner, and the vote will be taken upon the conclusion of debate. To this end, honorable senators, I have directed the clerk of the Senate to prepare and circulate a supplementary order paper containing a notice of motion and the motion limited to the preliminary objection on the threshold that was required for this impeachment. Now, honorable senators, the decision on the proposed removal from office by impeachment of the county governor and any consequential or incidental decision thereto are matters concerning counties, as has been previously ruled in all impeachment processes undertaken by the Senate. These decisions are made by the Senate by vote, by county delegations. Accordingly, the preliminary issue will be upheld only if it's supported by votes of at least 24 delegations. If the preliminary issue is upheld, this impeachment shall terminate forthwith. If, however, the preliminary objection issue is negated, the Senate will proceed to the main hearing of the impeachment proceedings. It is so ordered. Thank you, honorable senators. So, honorable senators, you'll be provided with a supplementary order paper that is going to guide us in the proceedings for the afternoon. Order, honorable senators, please let us take our seats. Honorable Senators, let us settle down. Senator Osotsi. The Minority Leader, kindly take your seat. You know, honorable senators, I want to believe that all of you now have the supplementary order paper. That is the one that is going to guide us. Can Senator Omtata be supplied with the supplementary order paper, please? Senator Onyonka, Senator Fatuma Dulo, Senator Enoch, Senator Hamida, Senator Olekina. It's also in your iPads. In the event that you don't have the physical copy, you can get a soft copy in your iPads before you. Clerk, you may proceed to call the next order.
Order number 2, notice of motion.
The Senate Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to give notice of the following motion, which is a preliminary objection by the Governor of Nyamira County on the threshold applied for the proposed removal from office by impeachment of the Governor of Nyamira County. Oh, sorry. Allow me to take it again, Mr. Speaker. This is notice of motion for preliminary objection by the Governor of Nyamira County on the threshold applied for the proposed removal from office by impeachment of the Governor of Nyamira County by the County Assembly. Aware that pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution and Section 33 of the County Governments Act 2012, on Tuesday the 25th of November 2025, the County Assembly of Nyamira approved a motion for the removal from office by impeachment of Honorable Amos Nyaribo, the Governor of Nyamira County, noting that by letter reference SPK/CAN/1/2025 dated 25th November 2025 and received in the office of the Speaker of the Senate on the 26th of November 2025, the Senate of the approval of the motion by the County Assembly and further forwarded to the Speaker of the Senate documents in evidence of the proceedings of the Assembly, including the list of the 23 members of the County Assembly that voted in favor of the removal from office by impeachment of Governor of Nyamira County. Further noting that one of the preliminary objections raised by Honorable Amos Nyaribo, the Governor of Nyaribo County, was a requisite what did I say? Sorry, Nyamira County. Nyamira County was a requisite threshold for passage of a motion for the removal of governor from office by impeachment, being 2/3 of the members of the County Assembly, as provided for in Section 33 of the County Governments Act and Standing Order 62 of the Standing Orders of the County Assembly of Nyamira, is 24 members of the County Assembly and was not met. Now, therefore, the Senate resolves to uphold the preliminary objection that the threshold required for the removal of a governor from office by impeachment contemplated in Section 33 of the County Governments Act and Standing Order number 62 of the County Assembly of Nyamira was not met, and forthwith terminates the hearing of the proposed removal from office by impeachment of Honorable Amos Nyaribo, the Governor of Nyamira County.
Next order.
Order number 3, motion, preliminary objection by the Governor of Nyamira County on the threshold applied for the proposed removal from office by impeachment of the Governor of Nyamira County by the County Assembly.
The Senate Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to move the following motion. This is a preliminary objection by the Governor of Nyamira County on the threshold applied for the proposed removal from office by impeachment of the Governor of Nyamira County by the County Assembly. That, aware that pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution and Section 33 of the County Governments Act 2012, on Tuesday, the 25th of November, 2025, the County Assembly of Nyamira approved a motion for the removal from office by impeachment of Honorable Amos Nyaribo, the Governor of Nyamira County, noting that by letter reference SPK/CAN/1/2025, dated 25th November 2025, and received in the office of the Speaker of the Senate on the 26th of November 2025, the Speaker of the County Assembly of Nyamira informed the Speaker of the Senate of the approval of the motion by the County Assembly and further forwarded to the Speaker of the Senate documents in evidence of the proceedings of the Assembly, including the list of 23 members of the County Assembly that voted in favor of the removal from office by impeachment of the Governor of Nyamira County, further noting that one of the preliminary objections raised by Honorable Amos Nyaribo, the Governor of Nyamira County, was the requisite threshold for passage of a motion for the removal of a governor from office by impeachment, being 2/3 of the members of the County Assembly, as provided for in Section 33 of the County Governments Act and Standing Order 62 of the Standing Orders of the County Assembly of Nyamira, is 24 of the members of the County Assembly and was not met. Now, therefore, the Senate resolves to uphold the preliminary objection that the threshold required for removal of a governor from office by impeachment contemplated in Section 33 of the County Governments Act and Standing Order number 62 of the County Assembly of Nyamira was not met, and forthwith terminates the hearing on the proceedings on the proposed removal from office by impeachment of Honorable Amos Nyaribo, the Governor of Nyamira County. Mr. Speaker, let me first take time to explain what this motion means. We must celebrate the Senate for how refined our process have become over time. Previously, Mr. Speaker, when we have been faced before this session, by previously I mean before this current Senate, the 13th Parliament, we previously had similar situations where a county assembly will come before the Senate and they'd argue that we have impeached our governor and therefore proceed and listen to this case. And the previous ruling that had been given by the office of the Speaker, which many of us disagreed with and felt was a great travesty of justice, the greatest that has ever happened on the floor of this House, was a ruling that was made back then that an impeachment process ends at the Assembly, and what the Senate needs to look at is a case and the material of it, then make a determination whether that case, whether a case has been made for the impeachment of that governor or not. However, in this present session of the Senate, we have since evolved and refined our processes better to a point where when there is a preliminary objection, the House makes a decision first, which is a good thing, Mr. Speaker, because I believe that with the coming of age of our county assemblies, together with us here in the Senate, we must continue to make the case that there is no alternative to the law. The law is the law, Mr. Speaker. We may not agree with it. It may not be in our favor today, but it is that which binds us and keeps us as a civil society. Anything in the absence of the law, Mr. Speaker, is anarchy. And in the rule of the jungle, it favors nobody. Those in power today or those that don't find the favor of the powers that be. And therefore, we must continue to make the case that in looking into the proceedings such as this, we must first satisfy ourselves as a House of the Senate that the process and the procedure went in tandem as ascribed and prescribed in law, Mr. Speaker. Section 33 of the County Governments Act, you'd believe that a plain reading of that section of the law, Mr. Speaker, is something that everybody can easily interpret. In fact, earlier today, while listening to the proceedings, Mr. Speaker, I walked over to the clerk and asked them that, what happened to what we used to have back then called the Legislative Summit? I remember attending it 2016 and the subsequent years, because it used to provide a very good forum for exchange of ideas on procedure and processes between the Senate and the 47 county assemblies, Mr. Speaker. Because looking at this case, looking at the case of the 2 impeachments by Kericho, looking at the Isiolo case, it is clear, Mr. Speaker, that there is need for this House, as a House that protects the interests of county governments, must set in law the procedure and make it black and white clear to our colleagues from the county assembly of what is it that the Senate considers to be a foolproof process of the impeachment of a county governor, which when you undertake and you bring it here, we go straight to the process of listening to what your dispute is. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, this is not to tell the people of Nyamira through their representatives that there are no issues in Nyamira. There might be issues, and indeed, listening, because I happen to come from the region, and I know that there are many things. Remember, Mr. Speaker, in this House, we've entertained and even listened and tried to reconcile 2 factions of the same county assembly that were sitting in separate parts of the county, Mr. Speaker. That tells you that there is a problem in that county. But before we get there, Mr. Speaker, we unfortunately must ask ourselves whether this matter is properly before us as a House. That is the question and the import of this motion. Have we been properly invited? Has the governor come through the main door, or has it been thrown in through the windows, Mr. Speaker, to get before the House of the Senate? And as a House that argues and makes the point every day that we must remind the executive, we must remind our county assemblies that we cannot make law, because that is primarily what we do in this House, and then lead the way in violation of the law, unfortunately, Mr. Speaker. And as such, Mr. Speaker, when a matter such as this appears before us, we must be satisfied that indeed there was proper procedure that has been followed. For the last 3 sessions, and this is the part that we take the blame also, you know for a fact that we have refused, and I'm very intentional about the use of the word refused, as Parliament to pass the law on the impeachment procedure. I have never seen a law as critical as this, Mr. Speaker, that has gone round in circles as has been. I can recall from, I don't know, as way back as which year, Mr. Speaker, that there has always been an attempt, but unfortunately, it never gets to the end. That means we are leaving our colleagues in the county assembly to guess and try to find their way on how to follow this procedure. These are issues, some of the issues that this motion is asking us to determine, for example, today, are matters which, if we had set out properly in an impeachment procedure bill, Mr. Speaker, then we wouldn't be debating this. By now, we'd be listening to the case by the county assembly and listening to the response from the county governor. But here we are, unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, it's our country. We must be mindful of it. We have been charged with the responsibility of ensuring that we lead this nation into a state of prosperity by ensuring that people respect the rule of law. Mathematics, Mr. Speaker, is plain and simple. You know that 12 divided by 2 is 6. And you know that if you want to get a third of that 12, Mr. Speaker, then it is 4. If you want 2/3, it is 8. And you'd imagine that in many of our county assemblies, Mr. Speaker, especially following through with the decision that this House made barely a year ago in the first impeachment proceedings against the governor of Kericho County, Mr. Speaker, county assemblies will be aware of the decision of this House, because this House made the decision that there is no quarter or half of a human being. That if you move on to the next, so long as it is a decimal, even if it is 0.1, then it means you go to the next, because the language of the Constitution is not less than, Mr. Speaker. That tells you it cannot be below. If it is 12 and you have 12.1, already 12, it is less than. Therefore, it cannot qualify. And it is for that reason that we have said that so long as you have a decimal beyond the 0.00, you go to the next number. That having been the case, Mr. Speaker, and if our colleagues from the County Assembly of Nyamira had taken time to read through the provisions and the ruling that this House made in that matter last year, Mr. Speaker, they will have appreciated that the requisite quorum as prescribed in law would have been 24, Mr. Speaker. The second item, which is something that I find quite strange, Mr. Speaker, that it is even in their standing orders, because that's what I heard Counsel for the Assembly say. And I say this a lot with tremendous respect to Advocate Katwa Kigen, because he's a senior counsel, somebody I respect, a friend of mine, Mr. Speaker, that in the County Assembly of Nyamira, their standing orders provide for an alien creature. Alien legislature world over has a provision called voting by proxy. I have never heard of such an animal, Mr. Speaker. Even as sergeant at arms, after the division bell is rung, always move round to ensure that the voting booth, Mr. Speaker, I don't know. I have not taken time to read the county assembly's standing orders of Nyamira. And if there is any other county assembly in the Republic of Kenya that has any such provisions, please delete it, because it is an illegality and there is no way. For example, if you're a member of a delegation and your head of delegation has given you the mandate to vote, then you can vote on their behalf as it happens. Because Senate is unique, we vote by delegations. But county assemblies vote by individual. They don't vote by delegations. And therefore, that is a second basis upon which we are being asked as a House to consider that particular matter. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, if this House agrees, we have numbers and bring it, then we shall open the file and listen to your issues. And you will not be the first that this has happened to. I'll give you the unfortunate example of my own county, that when they came here the first time, they had a similar issue on threshold. And this House sent them back. They went and did what they needed to do, Mr. Speaker. It's not to say that I'm encouraging the County Assembly of Nyamira to go back and do that which they did. That's a decision of their own, Mr. Speaker. But matters must be properly before us. As we speak today, Mr. Speaker, it still pains me when I see two governors, one of them actually Governor Mike Sonko and Governor, what was his name? Governor of Waititu. The truth of the matter, any human being knows that threshold was never achieved in those two county assemblies. In fact, if you read through the pleadings that were brought before us, it was clear and obvious. Yet this House, back then, because of the prevailing political environment in the country at that particular time, we were told in black and white that you are not the county assembly. Don't count. Just proceed and listen to the case. Know that we will come and check. We will have to satisfy ourselves that you followed the procedure, Mr. Speaker, before eventually making a determination. I made a request earlier on, Mr. Speaker, and perhaps this is my last point because I don't need to belabor. This is a very straight point matter. I want to make my submissions and request the counterpart leader from the minority side to second, then we can listen to our colleagues and make a determination so that if our colleagues are satisfied that those 2 points don't matter, we can proceed and listen to the case. Otherwise, if they choose to be firm and say this is the true state of the matter, Mr. Speaker, because unfortunately, colleagues, the maxim of law making is as such that you must always remember the law that you pass in the hands of your worst enemy. Colleague senators, tomorrow you can be a cabinet minister, you can be a president, a deputy president, Mr. Speaker, a governor. Will it satisfy you if you know that the procedures of our country are such that even if 5 people met and they said, we have impeached you, then the processing house will listen and say it doesn't matter. Numbers do matter, Mr. Speaker. I don't believe that it was out of lack of something useful to include in our constitutional dispensation, Mr. Speaker, that we set a threshold and a limit that must be attained before a governor comes to this House. And therefore, having said that, Mr. Speaker, the last point that I wanted to say is that I hope after this process, number one, I want to make the case that we must return the legislative summit. 1, 2, 3 county assemblies tells you that there is a problem in our county assemblies, that there is something that we don't seem to be reading from the same script. And impeachment is not just a political tool to be used on your enemy. It is a procedure of law, which unfortunately, the governor, we must then provide the template as Parliament. I think today's charges, Mr. Speaker, and I've listened to close to 20 impeachments in this House, was the longest. The charges were read for almost 30 minutes. Even the person being accused, Mr. Speaker, by the time they are rising to plead, either guilty or not, they have forgotten what the initial charges were, Mr. Speaker. We must at least do better and develop the template for that particular item, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, I don't want to say more than that. I think I have said everything that I need to say. Colleagues, the decision is yours. I want to sit and listen also. That's my perception and what I feel about this particular matter. But ultimately, and now open the case or terminate it because it is not properly before us. With those many remarks, Mr. Speaker, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Asante mstahiki Spika. Mstahiki Spika, kwanza nataka kuunga mkono aliyosema yote ndugu yangu Aaron Cheriot. Kitu cha kwanza lazima tuelewe ya kwamba huu ni mtihani mkubwa sana ambao sisi kama senators katika hili bunge lazima tuzingatie. Kitu cha kwanza ni kwamba kumwachisha kazi ama kuangalia zile taratibu za kumwachisha kazi gavana wa Kisii sio jambo jipya kwetu. Lakini kitu ni kwamba cha kusikitisha ni kwamba katika hizi counties zote ambazo sisi tunaweza kwamba tuko hapa na tunazisaidia ni kwamba masikizano yanakuwa kidogo sana. Mimi ningeomba kitu kimoja. Ukiwa gavana kuwa na taratibu za kusikiza wenzako, kuwa na taratibu za kuelewana na wenzako ili uweze kuendesha uongozi wako bila matatizo yote. Hivi sasa tunaona ya kwamba kuna mstakabali mmoja umeletwa hapo katikati ya kwamba kesi hii iweze kumalizwa. Ni kweli tumefanya kesi kama hizi hapo awali. Lakini kesi hii ni kesi ya kunukuu, ni kesi ya kuangalia kwamba je, ile nambari ambayo imepewa inaweza kushuka chini? Je, nambari ile ambayo imepewa kama ni ya 24 inaweza kupanda juu? Kitu ni kwamba ni umuhimu sana sisi kama maseneta, ndugu zangu, nataka tuangalie, je, hii goli ikiwa iko pale unaweza kuitoa ukaweka mahali pengine? Jibu ni kwamba la. Swala hili lilo mbele yetu ni swala muhimu sana na ni lazima tuweze kulijibu na lazima tuweze kuchukua msimamo. Mimi nataka kuomba maseneta, wakati huu mgumu ambao tuko nao, kumwachisha kazi mtu ni kitu ambacho kunaweza kuleta hasara. Watu wa nyumbani kule Nyamira ni watu wanataka waweze kusikizana. Sisi tunaweza kusema yote haya, lakini ikiwa kama nyumbani hakutakuwa na masikizano, hata ukiregeshwa wewe kama gavana unaweza kujipata katika kona mbaya na vile vile ukarudi hapa tena. Na hii kwa sababu si mara ya kwanza, ingekuwa bora zaidi tuchukue msimamo ili jambo kama hili lisiweze kutokea tena. Ningependa kuunga mkono aliyosema yote ndugu yangu Cheriot, na kwamba maseneta hivi sasa mlioko, tumieni akili zenu kuamua hii kesi kama vile ambavyo Wakenya wote saa hizi popote wale walipo wanaweza kuangalia na kujua kwamba hii ni nyumba ambayo inaweza kuchukua hatua na ni nyumba ambayo inaweza kukata kesi bila upendeleo wa aina yoyote, upande huu ama upande huu, na kuweza kuonyesha Wakenya ya kwamba Senate ndio nyumba.
81 of the Constitution and Section 33 of the County Governments Act 2012, on Tuesday 25th November 2025, the County Assembly of Nyamira approved a motion for the removal from office by impeachment of Honorable Amos Nyaribo, the Governor of Nyamira County. Noting that by a letter reference SPK/CAN/1/2025 on 26 November 2025, the Speaker of the County Assembly of Nyamira informed the Speaker of the Senate of the approval of the motion by the County Assembly and further forwarded to the including the list of 23 members of the County Assembly that voted in favor of the removal from office by impeachment of the Governor of Nyamira County. Further, noting that one of the preliminary objections raised by Honorable Amos Nyaribo, the Governor of Nyamira County, was that the requisite threshold for passage of a motion for the removal of a governor from office by impeachment, being 2/3 of the members of the County Assembly, as provided for in Section 33 of the County Governments Act and Standing Order 62 of the Standing Orders of the County Assembly of Nyamira, is 24 members of the County Assembly was not met. Now, therefore, the Senate resolves to uphold the preliminary objection that the threshold required for removal of a governor from office by impeachment contemplated in Section 33 of the County Government Act and Standing Order 62 of the County Assembly of Nyamira was not made, and forthwith terminates the hearing on the proposed removal from office by impeachment of Honorable Amos Nyaribo, the Governor of Nyamira County. Now, the floor is open for debate. Yes, what is your intervention, Senator Lilegwe?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise on a point of order, order number 111, to limit debate to 5 minutes for each speaker, and propose that we have 5 for both sides. 5 each for each side.
Order, honorable senators. Honorable senators, there is a motion that has... Just take your seat, Senator Kajwang. Don't engage your colleague directly. You have to do it through the chair. Now, honorable senators, that is a motion that has been proposed, a motion to limit the time within which an individual senator should speak. Now, we may process it in an official manner or through a consensus. His proposal is, if you get an opportunity to speak, you do so for not more than 5 minutes. He has gone further and stated that each side of the aisle, 5 senators from each side of the aisles. Do we leave it at the 5 minutes per senator speaking and see how far we'll go with it? Very well. So then if you get to the floor, if you take to the floor, you speak for more than 5 minutes. You don't have to exhaust the 5 minutes. You can do so even in a minute so that we can have as many. Yes, Senator. Honorable members, let's see how far we can stretch it. Let's see how far we can stretch it. Senator Chirange, Senator Fernandi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a very interesting motion. I agree that many people don't know that impeachment process is a political process. It's both civil and criminal at some where it can be measured. Either is beyond reasonable doubt, Mr. Speaker, or based on probabilities. Mr. Speaker, as I was listening to the majority leader moving, I remembered the case of Odinga and other versus IEBC in 2017 in the presidential petition. Mr. Speaker, and the decision of court then was not based on the outcome. It was based on the process and procedure that was followed, Mr. Speaker. So if the Supreme Court of the Republic of Kenya in Raila Odinga versus others and the IEBC was solely on the regularity, the processes, even how the electoral process was done from the time a voter kit was being acquired to the level that the voting was being done, Mr. Speaker, that matter is so. I want to say that this issue, the process and procedure must be very important, Mr. Speaker. And that is why I agree with the mover of the motion that as a House, Mr. Speaker, we have slept on our laurels by not ensuring one of the Constitution 2010 of the Republic of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. So Supreme Court has settled the matter of procedure and the importance of processes. And that was decided, Mr. Speaker. So I want to advise, because I have 23 people voted. But if you do the math, it should be 23.33. And when you truncate, It should be 24, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, then it brings a lot of questions. The Kericho one, for instance, there are issues that we must ensure we discuss. And those were the questions that we needed clarity on, Mr. Speaker, because I can see my light is on. Mr. Speaker, the question is, you know, you, at least you are a senior lawyer. There is a principle of maxims of equity. Mr. Speaker, is this a case he who seeks equity must do equity? That is a question to the county assembly. Or is it a question, equity is the vigilant, not the indolent? And those are principles of maxims of equity that the House and the wisdom that will be subjected, Mr. Speaker, the whether will decide to proceed with the process or not, Mr. Speaker. Looking upon office, issue of incompetence, issue of corruption, the running of the government, Mr. Speaker. It is the way that we can ensure that either we enrich the growth of devolution, Mr. Speaker. And I want to say, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, one of the oversight tools, and I want to agree with MCS, and disabuse, one of the oversight tools, Mr. Speaker, in this country, under devolution, Mr. Speaker, is also impeachment. That's the issue on oversight, Mr. Speaker. It is either, you either do an impeachment as part of oversight or any other forms of oversight, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, when the voting will come, let us listen keenly. We are the judges, Mr. Speaker, and you know, judges will only come out with judgment, either concurring or dissenting at that point. So, Mr. Speaker, I retreat to my chamber and consider and listen to the wisdom of Koris or lack of it. Mr. Speaker, I raise my case.
Senator Richard Onyonka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like your protection from Majority Leader, who is talking on his phone. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I happen to be in a very unique and complex position. As a member of the Kisii delegation, which is a neighbor to Nyamira, who are our brothers, this matter has been running for as long as I remember, since I became a senator in this house. Members of the county assembly have constantly disagreed over the issues in Nyamira, and on several occasions, and the things that have been happening in Nyamira. I don't want to spend a lot of time explaining those things. Mr. Speaker, even when that is a very complex and maybe completely political issue which needs to be sorted out, I stand and defend my positions based on the law. If the law is what we have decided to follow as a people who want good governance and administration, who want to provide services to their people, then, Mr. Speaker, we really have to agree that we are going to follow the law. My wish would have been that we listen to all the charges that have been brought, but then that means that we would have preempted the discussions about the issues of the PO and indeed the rest of this case. My suggestion would be, if members of this House feel that the threshold was not reached, then we accept that as a position. And the problem that I was unable to interrogate, Mr. Speaker, was that in Nyamira, there were 3 members of the county assembly who were not there when these elections were taking place. Not the ones who traveled, but there are about 3, I think 2 were having by-elections the other day, and 1, I think, had passed on. And they had not been at the assembly for close to 2 years. So what many people were asking me as I was sitting here is, the fact that these people who've been at the county assembly have only been 23, what does it mean? My worry is, if you are going to impeach Mr. Nyaribo with 21 or 22 members of the county assembly, and this House convicts, there's a likelihood the court will actually refuse to convict. And Mr. Speaker, what I would want to encourage my colleagues here is that let us follow the law and make a decision whether that law is good or bad. My point, Mr. Speaker, is that we have set precedent, and the precedent is there on Kericho 1, there's precedent on Kericho 2, and all that precedence does exist. But I also, Mr. Speaker, wanted to mention that I was very impressed with Katwa Kigen's argument that when you have those people, if they are 21 or 22 in the county assembly, does the law actually allow them to then vote because they're the ones who are sitting there, or can they then even vote through proxy and continue making the arguments they're making? So my argument, Mr. Speaker, is that if the law, which is that the threshold should have been 24 members of the county assembly, and that threshold was not arrived at, then, Mr. Speaker, we should let the matter rest. Thank you so much.
Senator Boni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, at the beginning, when I listened to the PO, I saw it as a straightforward case of 35 times 2/3. That's what I saw. And I was persuaded. However, both parties have invited me to want to hear more. Both the governor and the county assembly. What do I mean, Mr. Speaker? People watching me in Nyamira now want us to respond to the concerns by the county assembly. Nowhere in the jurisprudence of this country have we ever tested the issue of who is voting at the 2/3 majority. What do I mean? You all know, in this house, we have been voting with the threshold of 24, even when our brother, the late Jeptumo, was gone. Now, what has been brought by the county assembly, they are telling us, please remember there were 3 MCAs who are not in that county assembly. This is the time for us to prosecute that, and therefore we should give parties an opportunity to prosecute that matter. We see which way it should go, so that, colleagues, we guide county assemblies, we even guide this Senate, that what shall we be doing in the event members are not in plenary. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, again, parties have invited me on the issue of voting by proxy. You all speak good English. Voting proxy simply means a member of a team, like the one in the county assembly of Nyamira, asking another member to vote for him specifically in the same manner he would have voted. Let's not be emotional. Even in this house, we normally ask the leader of the delegation to tell the appointed the delegation to vote exactly in the manner the leader of that delegation would have voted. So we need again to hear submissions from both parties so that it would help us to know in future how shall we be handling this kind of issue. My final point, Mr. Speaker, again invited by both parties, is that they talked about letters. We didn't know letters were brought. This is the time for us to allow them to prosecute the matter, to show us these letters, just in the same way we did in Kericho 2, and those ones who thought this had not taken place, they were given an opportunity. Mr. Speaker, finally, but not least, the county assembly has come here for justice, looking for justice. So has the governor. It is therefore makes us stronger, more credible, more fatherly by hearing both. Let the PO be determined after we have heard the whole manenos, the whole issues. Then we make a decision. I want to defeat in my submission the points raised by the Senator of Kericho, leader of majority. It is bigger than what you think. Kericho 1 was straightforward. Kericho 2 was straightforward. This one, both parties are not in agreement. In Kericho 1, we all remember, both parties were in agreement about the number of MCAs who had participated. For your information, leader of the majority, if you go by the presentation by the governor, it means 23.3 people voted, which we round to 24. But if you go by the persuasive argument by the county assembly, it means in the absence of those three, only 21.3 people voted.
Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, 2 or 3 things. First is to correct the impression by Senator Boni Alwale that after we dispense with this PO, that is not the case. Mr. Speaker, if I heard you right, you remember in Kericho 2, the Speaker ruled that the PO should be subsumed into the main hearing. So when we are voting, we will begin voting with the PO. For now, what the Speaker has asked us to do is to vote on the PO, dispense with that matter here, and we are not going to meet the PO at another given time. So that should be very clear to members, that if we are done with it here, we are not meeting it again. Mr. Speaker, I asked lawyer Katwa Kigen a question, and I wanted to learn from him. I'm afraid I did not learn a lot. At what point does a membership of an assembly determine? Mr. Speaker, you cannot tell me that a constitutional and legal requirement is a moving target. That becomes very tricky. That becomes very, very tricky, Mr. Speaker. Because then what it means is this. It means that because us as a Senate, we vote as 24 delegations, if there is a vacancy in one delegation, then we must lower the threshold for voting. It means, Mr. Speaker, because the requirement for a presidential election is at least 24 counties, then if for some reason one of the counties does not participate, then we should lower that threshold. Mr. Speaker, I am still, and I will still need to talk to legal counsel at some point outside this chamber to understand how legal requirements can be moving targets that we keep pushing them to up and down depending on the number of members in the chamber. Mr. Speaker, on the issue of the second PO on proxy voting, again, Senator Boni Alwale got it all wrong. The voting in the Senate is by delegates. We don't have delegations in county assemblies. So it cannot be that a member of a county assembly representing one ward can ask another member of the same county assembly representing a different ward to cast a vote on behalf of that ward. That becomes a bit complicated. Mr. Speaker, Minority Leader, I've listened to submissions from colleagues, and I've heard one thread that is running across: the search for justice. The county assembly wants justice from the Senate. The governor of Nyamira wants justice from the Senate. The people of Nyamira in totality are looking up to the Senate for by different members on the same subjects, that we just don't dispense justice, but let in the eyes of the public.
Senator Nderitu.
Asante Bwana Spika kunipa fursa hii. Kuanzia mwanzo Bwana Spika, ni dhahiri shahiri ya kwamba tunachoangazia inayohitajika kulingana na sheria ni dhurudhi mbili ambayo ilipaswa izingatiwe. Lakini Bwana Spika, kwa sababu tunajua kwamba sheria za Kenya, sheria hii ambayo inayonukuliwa ya kusema ya kwamba tunahitaji na vile kumesemekana ya kwamba haki ni 59(2)(d) kinasema ya kwamba haki itolewe bila kujali mno taratibu za kiufundi. Bwana Spika, vile ambavyo tungelitaka, hata ijapokuwa Bwana Spika tunazingatia idadi, na tukiangalia vile ambavyo sheria ziko Bwana Spika, hii ni sehemu tu ya sheria za county Bwana Spika, na vile ambavyo katiba ya Kenya inasema ni ya kwamba tusifuatilie mno Bwana Spika taratibu za kiufundi Bwana Spika, na kwa sababu sheria ya kwamba haki itendeke na si haki kutendeka. Haki Spika, hizi wakati kaunti ya Nyamira walikuwa na vikao katika sehemu tofauti Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo mimi ningelitaka ya kwamba sio tu tufanye mambo hapa tukifuatilia vile ambavyo nimesikia ndugu zangu wakisema tu Spika. Na Bwana Spika, mkuu vizuri katika kile kipengee cha 159, nasikia kiongozi wengi anauliza nimenukuu wapi, na nataka kumwambia kwamba haki itolewe iweze kutendeka. Haki kwa Nyamira ni haki kwa Laikipia. Haki kwa Nyamira ni haki kwa Kericho Bwana Spika. Tulifanya hayo mambo hapa kwa Kericho, tukangoja Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo hata siku ya leo tutafanya hiyo haki, na sio kufanya haki. Haki inapaswa kuonekana ikitendeka kwa Wakenya wote. Nashukuru Bwana Spika.
Senator Manzo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the maxim of equity also say, he who comes to equity must come with cleaner. In Kericho too, that was enough to send a message. It is a matter of public notoriety that the threshold is known. It is 2/3, and the calculations were then done, even with experts, and that matter has been settled. Mr. Speaker, when in the same matter in a national election, you say that the presidential elections are 50+1. There is no way you will come up with any other situation. And therefore, in this particular case, we should adhere to the law, 2/3. If there is no 2/3, Mr. Speaker, there is no case before the Senate. And I think this should go to every county assembly so that they will be very careful. The moment they are not garnering 2/3, that they know they have no business coming to the Senate, because the law is very clear. Mr. Speaker, there is also the issue of standing orders of the county. Mr. Speaker, all the law in the country follows the Constitution, then it follows statutes, and then whatever is made under the standing orders must conform with those two, Mr. Speaker. So you cannot have standing orders which allow a delegation of a further delegation, because delegated power is delegated power of the people, and a person whose power has been delegated to cannot delegate further, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, it is better that every now county assembly in the country learns this, because impeachments have no time limitation. Mr. Speaker, to come back again, Kericho 1 and Kericho 2. And the most important thing, Mr. Speaker, in these circumstances is to follow the law, and then all of us are equal before the law.
Impeachment is a political process, and I think so many people took him seriously. And you can even hear from Senator Cherargei, they still believe impeachment is a political process. But, Mr. Speaker, I say the mandate to impeach is sacred. In the beginning, Mr. Speaker, because we have heard here, even from the leader of majority, it has happened before. We had governors who were impeached by the Senate, yet there was no threshold at their county assemblies when they were impeached. That is the governor of Kiambu, Governor Waititu, the governor of Nairobi, Governor Sonko. We have had 2 cases of governor of Kericho, who is currently sitting. In Meru, we also had almost something similar to that, and this one, Mr. Speaker. So we should use this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to ask ourselves, now that we have seen there are rogue speakers out there in the county assemblies, do we enhance our standing orders to make sure that the speakers must stand here even before the governors stand to take an oath and say, yes, I'm here and I brought these numbers, and they can be held personally liable, Mr. Speaker, because we do not have to agree with anything that comes from the speakers from the county assembly if we are not given an opportunity to scrutinize, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, should we also ask that we be having Hansard live footage and coverage when these impeachments are going through? Mr. Speaker, should we be asking for signed confirmations by the MCAs who have impeached someone today here? And I will demonstrate that today, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to voting, by not voting through the processes, to show that I'll be called over there to go sign somewhere to show how I voted. Can't we ask the members of the county assemblies, when the impeachments come, they should sign somewhere, I voted this way, so that, Mr. Speaker, we do not eject governors because someone somewhere played politics, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, so when I listen to this motion, I ask myself, do I proceed with this motion as it is? Do I proceed with the impeachment of these governors, of the governor of Nyamira as it is, Mr. Speaker? That is a question I'll be answering at the end. But again, Mr. Speaker, we have had some governors are sponsoring their own impeachments so that they can garner sympathy from their people, Mr. Speaker. Sometimes they coerce with the speakers, take no numbers in there so that I can be kicked away home. And I'll say, the Senate saved me, Mr. Speaker. So again, I ask myself, if I send them home, was it the case that the governor of Nyamira probably sponsored it? Because I saw him the other day, saying that we have joined broad-based, trying to coerce this Senate, that, Mr. Speaker, I'm now in the side of the government, so I know when I go to the Senate, I'm going to be sent back home. So I'm asking myself those questions here today, Mr. Speaker. So the best thing is to go full throttle, Mr. Speaker. Let's listen, so that we can also take this opportunity. I have never met the governor of Nyamira. Let me see him today speak here. Let's ask those questions the people or the MCAs are asking, Mr. Speaker. But again, that is something I'm thinking about. I might be persuaded when we are done with the debate on this issue, Mr. Speaker. But what I would want to urge this Senate, let us withhold, let us follow the rule of the law when it comes to this process, because going forward, we could become governors, and we wouldn't want, Mr. Speaker, to be brought here by a speaker probably who wants to overthrow a governor. And, Mr. Speaker, the law is very clear. It says once an impeachment is processed at the county assembly, the Speaker of the county assembly shall write to the Speaker of the Senate. Mr. Speaker, if you look at that, the wording of that, any speaker can go to any lodging, can go to any room, and just write that to the Speaker, either without the processes being followed, just himself, Mr. Speaker. So does that mean that anything the Speaker brings is gospel truth, that we can just process it without asking how they attained to that point, Mr. Speaker? So as I stand, Mr. Speaker, I'm thinking on how to vote, and you will call me there, and I will demonstrate how it's done, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Senator Osotsi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, indeed, I want to the comments in your ruling that indeed looking at the circumstances of this matter and also looking at the Constitution, the threshold of 24 was not met. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the Constitution, Article 97, which talks about the membership of the National Assembly, and also Article 98 that talks about membership of the Senate, it gives you it implies that the Senate and the National Assembly, their membership is defined in the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, Article 177 that talks about membership of the County Assembly also implies the same. So you cannot say, Mr. Speaker, and I want to agree with the other members, that the membership of the Assembly is a moving target. It can never be a moving target. But Mr. Speaker, that aside, I see there is a problem, Mr. Speaker, with this motion. And what I see is that at lunchtime, I listened to these members, and the mood was that the members wanted this matter to go to full hearing. But now the motion has designed, it is not giving us that option. It is either we agree to the PO or we reject it. Mr. Speaker, we have a danger here, because if this motion is passed as it is, so enough to compel this House to impeach the governor as it is now and say yes, then it means we'll be debating, we'll be moving away from what we had improved on Kericho 1, which is called Kericho 2. So, Mr. Speaker, my wisdom tells me that we withdraw this motion or amend this motion so that to allow the members to make a decision whether they want to process the PO at this point, they go the Kericho 1, or they want to go Kericho 2. Because if we allow this motion as it is, and the vote is taken and is a no, Mr. Speaker, we will be creating a precedent which will be very difficult to heal. So I suggest, Mr. Speaker, that this motion be withdrawn or be amended so that to reflect what I know members are thinking about. Mr. Speaker, nevertheless, I support.
Senator Wafula.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa nafasi hii. Vile vile kushukuru walio wengi katika bunge kunipa nafasi kuongoza kitengo hiki. Lakini vile vile ni kusema kwamba Mheshimiwa Spika, katika kesi ya mwewe na kuku lazima haki iwepo. Unapomnyorosha mwewe atoroke, kuku lazima ukabiliane naye. Mbona alijisalimisha kwa mwewe, Mheshimiwa Spika? Mheshimiwa Spika, Wakenya wanatazama. Katika kesi ya Kericho, tuliona wanateknolojia wa kompyuta na simu za rununu wakitueleza kule walikokuwa wapiga kura. Na pale maji yalipozidi unga, Mheshimiwa Spika, tukang'amua kwamba kulikuwa na utapeli wa hali fulani. Na wajumbe hawa wakachukua msimamo. Na baada ya kuchukua msimamo, Mheshimiwa Spika, bunge hili halikutoa mwelekeo kwa wale ambao walikuwa wanapotosha umma kwa stakabadhi gushi. Jumba hili lisiwe eneo la kutumbuiza Wakenya, Mheshimiwa Spika. Watu wameleta stakabadhi hapa, gavana nashukuru uko hapa, viongozi wa kaunti wako hapa. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi ni kuomba wote walioleta stakabadhi na kukiri walihusika wapewe nafasi wajisulubishe ama wajining'inize wenyewe. Na iwapo yeyote atapatikana kwamba anahadaa bunge la Senate kwa kusema kwamba alipiga kura na alikuwa ng'ambo, hata ninashangaa Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna wale hawajakuwa bunge miaka miwili na wamepiga kura. Lazima waletwe hapa, Mheshimiwa Kenya, waone hawa viongozi gushi ambao ni mashahidi bandia, kesi bandia, ili gavana pia jitetee akitoka hapa awe huru na huru kabisa. Na wale ambao watakabidhiwa na mashtaka pia wakabiliwe na mkono mkali wa sheria. Sasa hapa mimi sijui mbona watu wanaogopa kwamba tukienda kusikiza kesi hati gavana wangu huyu tayari kamba iko shingoni yake amekwisha. Hapana. Na sio kwamba tukiwapa hawa nafasi ni kwamba ni kama Muhammad Ali watakabiliana na gavana kabla hajang'amua chochote atakuwa chini. Hapana. Ni kusema kwamba mchakato mzima uendelee. Tuone wale walio ukweli na wale waongo, na Senate ichukue msimamo ambao utaboresha usimamizi wa kaunti zetu. Sasa mimi naomba maseneta ambao tuko hapa, ni kama ule mchezo ambao mtu amepewa, ni mchezo wa Man U na Arsenal. Umefanya mazoezi muda mrefu, wakati mchezo unataka kuanza, mtu anasema viatu havipo, kanuni hazikubali kwamba tucheze miguu bila viatu. Huu muda wote ulikuwa wapi kusema kununua viatu kuja uwanjani? Hawa wamejipanga. Sisi kama mashabiki.
What is the point of order, Senator Fomero?
La Senate 105.
Take your seat, Senator Wafula.
Nataka Senator Wafula ambayo tumekabidhi uongozi jana kwa kiranja mkuu wa walio wengi hapa Senate. Ametaja timu ya Arsenal ya kwamba wanafika kiwanjani wanasema hawana viatu. Mimi nimefuata timu ya Arsenal kwa muda mrefu sana, Bwana Speaker. Na sijaipata hiyo siku ama nafasi kuwaona ati Arsenal walifika kwa kiwanja wakaanza kusema wachezi. Kwa hivyo lazima akipeana mifano yake apeane mifano halali na mifano ambayo anaweza dhibitisha. Na timu yake sijui ni gani, sijui nasikia ni hii gani ya mwisho hii. Ndio. So bwana Speaker, lazima awe na ile tunaita kwa Kiingereza statement of fact. Sababu kutaza timu kubwa ya Arsenal kwa kejeli hairuhusiwi kabisa.
Order, honorable senators. Nafikiri Senator wa Bungoma alikuwa anapeana tu mfano.
Mheshimiwa
Speaker, na hoja, tumwache amalize hoja yake tafadhali.
Nadhani kuna utapiamlo wa kufuata umantiki wa hoja zangu, Mheshimiwa Speaker. Mimi ni kuomba tu viongozi wenzangu kwamba hawa wote wako huru kujieleza. Tayari tumeona pale palipo na shida, lakini tuwasikize. Mheshimiwa Speaker, nimekuwa mwanachama wa kamati ya ugatuzi. Donda sugu hili la hawa watu kutengana katika assembly ya county hii hatujajadili hapa, tumekuwa tunapakata tu. Najaribu kutumia lugha nadhifu kidogo. Leo wamekuja hapa tena maseneta wanasema ati sheria haikubali, ati mkondo mfumo. Hapana Mheshimiwa Speaker, tusiwe matapeli wa kisiasa. Leo wamejileta tukabiliane na wao. Wajieleze, tuwasikize, tuwaulize maswali, aliye na hatia akabidhiwe. Lakini yeyote asiwe na wasiwasi. Hawa maseneta wana akili timamu, wamesoma, wanamcha Mungu na wanapenda haki. Mimi nawatakia kila laheri Mheshimiwa Speaker wenzangu, twende njia ya kusikiza kesi. Na mimi naomba gavana usiwe na shida.
Senator Olekina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this motion. Mr. Speaker, I've never been clear on my mind on the direction that I want to take as much as I'm clear today. You know, you can never bend the truth, Mr. Speaker. I was listening to the legal counsel for the Assembly, where they made a case that 2/3 is defined as 2/3 of the members present. When I look at the law has never been bended to a point where it defines 2/3 as the members who are present. The law is quite clear. It talks about 2/3 of all the members of the Assembly. Mr. Speaker, I was listening, and this has to be the issue that we must determine. Because before, Mr. Speaker, in this very House, we determined what 2/3 means. And we all came up with a conclusion that 2/3 for a human being will be a whole number. So, Mr. Speaker, I've also listened to an argument made by the plaintiff or the county assembly that the Senate votes by proxy, and that could not be further from the truth. Mr. Speaker, the Senate does not vote by proxy. Neither do county assembly vote by proxy. If you read Article 123 of the Constitution, it is the only house which is defined that it votes by delegation. Even in this own decision that we are going to make here, we have got to decide based on delegation, 24 delegation. So when we keep on dilly-dallying on these matters, Mr. Speaker, we'll be making a joke or a mockery of this House. Mr. Speaker, there is nowhere in the Constitution of Kenya, or even the law which is now guiding this impeachment process, because I'm still of the view that Parliament has not yet acted on Article 181(2), on coming up with a legislation that defined the impeachment process. But if we say we limit ourselves to the issues of Section 33 of the County Governments Act, there is nowhere that says that as a member elected by the people of Narok County, I can delegate my vote to the people of Kericho to be able to vote on my behalf. It is absolutely not possible. We can dilly-dally, we can pussyfoot, but the fact is, when it comes to appeal, we have to put it into a legal test. And the question to ask is this: in Nyamira County, what is the number that defines 75% of all the members elected in Nyamira County? Mr. Speaker, I was very happy to hear my colleague talking about a constitutional, like a constitutional target. There's absolutely no way, a moving target. There's no way that we can say that 2/3 shall be defined as a moving target. It is something which is clearly set. One of the things that was a bit confusing to me, Mr. Speaker, is that in this own House, if you look at our standing orders, and I believe it is standing order number 7, that talks about the elections of the Speaker. It talks about a Speaker being elected by all senators. Now, the question to ask is, when we were electing our Speaker, were the nominated senators in or they were not in? And what was all senators? So, Mr. Speaker, I'm very clear on my mind that 2/3 is 24, and the county assembly and the county governor has all attested that the people who voted were 19. Because I'm not going to vote, and the number that they brought, the county assembly brought the number of 23. So whether you call it 2/3, using the numbers that you want to create of the people present, the law is quite clear and you cannot bend it. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, because I see that my light is up, I think we have to ask ourselves whether we want to remain as a House that plays around with the law, or we want to be able to become a House that sets the precedent and sends a clear message. And this clear message, Mr. Speaker, will finally be set when we pass a law in this House that sets the prerequisites of bringing an impeachment process into this House. It must be.
Senator Kisang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to oppose this motion, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in the Kericho 1 motion, in Kericho 1, Honorable Speaker, it was a clear day and light. There were 47 MCS in the Kericho County Assembly, but those who voted were 31, and the threshold was supposed to be 32, Honorable Speaker. In Kericho 2, Honorable Speaker, we, in our own wisdom, which I still disagree, Honorable Speaker, that we decided to look for an expert. And when you look for an expert, I expected that when the expert gives an opinion, we'll go with the opinion of the expert and not subjecting the same opinion of expert to non-experts, who is ourselves senators, Honorable Speaker. I thought that is, I don't agree with that. Honorable Speaker, the 2010 Constitution, some of us opposed it because we said there was 20% of that Constitution that required to be refined, and we have a referendum at a later date. But the country at that time said we move on, and we fought. And we fought, Honorable Speaker, knowing very well that there was a 20% of the Constitution that required some amendments. And 12 years or 14 years later on, Honorable Speaker, 15 years, we have not amended the Constitution. And there are some flaws in this particular Constitution. That's why I agree. When you check this particular county, Honorable Speaker, after election, there were 35 MCS. By the time the impeachment motion in Nyamira County, Honorable Speaker, there were only 32 MCS in that county assembly. So now the question that we need to look at, as we also look at the Constitution and look at the law that the JLAC have said they are brought to the House, Honorable Speaker, is what is the threshold? Is when we check between 32 and 35, the threshold on 32, Honorable Speaker, is 21.3. When you round it up, it's 22, Honorable Speaker. When you divide by 35, it is 23.3, which basically you round to 24. But we know very well, Honorable Speaker, that there were 3 vacancies during the time of voting when the County Assembly of Nyamira impeached the governor of Nyamira, Honorable Speaker. So that's why I agree to some extent until I'm convinced by the senior counsel, Gadwa Giken, that this is a moving target. Honorable Speaker, when we do our general elections, the presidential vote is 50 plus 1. It is 50 plus 1 of the cast vote. It is not on registered votes, Honorable Speaker. The registered votes in this particular case for Nyamira is 35 MCS. But those who, the positions that were filled at this particular time were 32, Honorable Speaker. So I want to convince my colleagues, or I get convinced, that maybe it is good to give them an opportunity, Honorable Speaker, that we go to full hearing, let them convince us that there was no threshold or there is no case. Otherwise, honorable members, it is good also to listen to these people. As Senator Majority Leader has said, that maybe we need to go back to the summit so that we can engage closely with our MCs. Every 2 years or every 2 years or so, I think we've been having the Senate summit that we engage with the governors, but that's a governors issue, but we have never met. We are likely to go out of this house after 5 years and come back without even having an engagement with our MCs so that we can see how, because we're the oversight. Assemblies are the ones who are oversighting the counties. But where are we meeting? We don't even engage at all, apart from maybe when they come to our committees for benchmarking. Honorable Speaker, I reserve my vote, but I want to say, I think we need an opportunity. We need to hear the full case. And then from there we can decide.
Senator Muma.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'd like to, because I will not be voting, my comment is to just bring some issues that I think are very important to our colleagues. Honorable Speaker, it is not straightforward as to what is the number against which we determine the 2/3. Honorable Speaker, first, we actually have a law on impeachment. The only problem is that that law may not be adequate. And having had devolution for 13 years, we actually need to revise it, given the experience that we have had. Honorable Speaker, Section 33(2) of the County Governments Act says, if a motion under subsection 1 is supported by at least 2/3 of all members, all the members of the county assembly, then the governor will stand impeached. Now, what we need to determine as the Senate is, what does all members mean? Does all members include members who have passed? Does it include the vacancies? And if that is the case, that is straightforward. It simply means the number of all possible seats in any county assembly. But in the case of Nyamira, I think we had one member of parliament, member of assembly who had passed. We had one who had resigned. Is it one or two? One. So we need to determine first the 2/3. Is it against 35 or is it against 33? Or 32, whatever it is. Now, having decided that, the answer becomes straightforward. If it is 35, the threshold was not met. If it comes to 33 or 32, the next question will be, was the threshold met by 19 votes or is it by 23 votes? Now, what is clear before the Senate is that 19 people attended and voted. As to whether the other 4 people who voted by proxy were valid votes is a matter that we cannot decide at this time. It's a matter that you'd have to listen to both sides, because one side has contested the validity of those 4 votes. Another side has also given evidence of the validity of those votes. So can we say this is a straightforward matter? In my view, we cannot say so. And because we want to be able to guide and to set the president right, the key issue is when the law says 2/3 of all members. Is it of all members alive? It doesn't say so. Or is it of all members contemplated to be in any county assembly, which means the possible maximum number of members of the county assembly. So as we guide, I would wish that members and the House is able to look at this seriously, because we want to respect the rule of law and we also want to set the correct precedent on this matter.
Senator Mungatana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to also make a comment on this motion. Mr. Speaker, this House must stand for something. And I take it even back to my own family, Mr. Speaker. My late father, everybody knew, his brothers knew, that he would not drink alcohol and he would not tolerate alcohol anywhere near him. Mr. Speaker, I was brought up that way, and I've passed the same message to my sons and daughters. So when they approach me, when they come to my house, they know there are certain things that cannot happen. Mr. Speaker, in law, and I urge this House to accept that we are sitting as a court. In law, there is a principle called stare decisis. Stare decisis means we must stand by what has been held before. And Mr. Speaker, there is vertical stare decisis, where the Supreme Court will have to give direction, and it is followed by the Court of Appeal, by the High Court, all the way to the magistracy. There is also horizontal stare decisis, Mr. Speaker, where now, if the High Court has made a certain holding in any decision, then that court, that decision, and that court at the horizontal level will continue to be held as the position, unless something, Mr. Speaker, changes dramatically, like if society has changed, circumstances have changed totally. I make this argument, Mr. Speaker. nothing has changed since we said this Senate said that the two-thirds, and the two-thirds must be complete, two-thirds. Nothing has changed. And when we said that we cannot proceed on a matter where it is so clear that the law has been laid out on that matter, when we say that it is so clear that there is a preliminary objection, Mr. Speaker, we have said it in this House. And nothing has changed from the time that we made the decisions on Kericho 1. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleading with this House that as father, these senators are father to all the county assemblies who are looking up to us. If they know that there must be clarity on the two-thirds, if they know this is what the Senate said yesterday, then they know it will say the same thing tomorrow. Then they know it will say the same thing the next day, unless something fundamentally changes. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to say, let us vote to finish with this matter because the numbers were not attained. Mr. Speaker, a principle is a principle. Whether we like it or not, this is how society is built. This is how certainty is upheld. And this is how we create a society that can grow, Mr. Speaker. On the question whether the vacancies created will make the number of 35 to go down, Mr. Speaker, I wanted to ask, sincerely from the bottom of my heart, the day we were impeaching the Deputy President here, if for any reason, Mr. Speaker, some members were out, would we have really voted to move the target from the delegation of 24? Mr. Speaker, these arguments can be good arguments because maybe the lawyers have clients to please. But, Mr. Speaker, in reality, can you impeach a president? If the articles of impeachment came here and we are supposed to impeach a president or a deputy president, and we say, oh, 4 of us are absent, so let us reduce the threshold. Surely will even Kenyans understand us? So, Mr. Speaker, there's no moving target. The number was 35. I'm not persuaded by those arguments. I'm asking and pleading with this House, let us be predictable. Let us stand by what we have said. It may not be popular right now, may not be maybe even what you want, but a principle is a principle.
Senator Kajwang.
Mr. Speaker, in mathematics, there is what we call a vulgar fraction. It is a vulgar fraction because there's a number at the bottom and a number at the top. The number at the bottom is a denominator, and the number at the top is an enumerator. And just like other vulgarities in real life, Mr. Speaker, the number at the bottom is very powerful because it represents the entire population. The question for us to consider today, in this vulgar fraction of Nyamira, what is the denominator? What is the total population of members of county assembly to whom the percentages and fractions can be applied? Mr. Speaker, once we sort that out, this situation in Nyamira will no longer be vulgar. It will be pretty clear on whether we can proceed or not. Senator Boni Khalwale raised a very important example. When our brother Cheptumo was away, the threshold, the 50% threshold remained 24. It introduced to 23. There was a time, Mr. Speaker, when we were cooking up some motion to push you to declare our side, the majority side. The time when Wetangula resigned to be the Speaker of the National Assembly, the time that Murkomen left to join the cabinet, and Soipan Tuya. And when we looked at the maths and whatever had been lodged with the registrar of political parties, it would appear that our side, therefore, at that instant, was a majority side. But then we talked to legal experts, they told us that the denominator, that number at the bottom, must be 67, and it is not a moving target. Mr. Speaker, there was a time also in this House when we were passing the Electoral Laws Amendment Bill. It was very contentious. We only needed one vote. And I thank God, Mr. Speaker, that the government did not resort to trying to play around. But that vote was from the Kisii delegation. Then the senator was Senator Chris Obure. But there was a member of that delegation called Senator Jose Onchwangi. He was sought and found somewhere in River Road, and he came to this house panting, and he cast a vote, and the election amendment laws were passed. When we were fighting over the formula in the last parliament, Mr. Speaker, it would have been easy for the government to reduce the denominator so that the 2/3 could be achieved. But they realized that that was going to be dangerous. And so the government of the day resorted to intimidation of Senators Lelegwe, Senators Lagat, and Senator Malala, even though Senator Malala was a willing accomplice. Mr. Speaker, if we can sort out this thing of denominator, we will have clarity. But there is a problem in Nyamira, which we must agree on, even as we discuss this PO. This is not the first time we are debating a matter with regards to Nyamira on the floor of this House, be it in the Devolution Committee, be it in the Public Accounts Committee. And we also take judicial notice, Mr. Speaker, that there have been several attempts to have this motion come to this House. Whereas I congratulate the members of the County Assembly, whichever direction this matter will take, for playing their oversight role, but we must also call them out. The County Assembly of Nyamira is split right in the middle. The people of Nyamira are not getting the services that they deserve. Nyamira County, sitting in the League of Counties, will be at the bottom. While other counties are making progress, they are busy in fighting. Mr. Speaker, this Senate will stand for the Constitution, will protect the weak, and will make sure that we provide justice to everybody. But Mr. Speaker, looking at the conversation and perhaps even the public interest in this matter, I will perhaps invite you to consider invoking Standing Order number 66.3 on deferring putting the question until a later time. I mean, the Standing Order allows you. There's nothing that says that this motion must be voted upon at this present moment, because Standing Order 66.3 provides that option. Because, Mr. Speaker, I would like us to expose these people who are swearing false affidavits. It is becoming a problem. Impeachment after impeachment, people come here and disown the affidavits. The only way to catch them is to proceed into full trial and ensure that someone is taken into custody for perjury. Mr. Speaker, I submit.
Senator Mrango.
Asante sana Mstahiki Spika kwa kunipa nafasi ili niweze kuchangia katika mswada muhimu ulio mbele yetu. Mstahiki Spika, maisha yangu ya awali nilikuwa mwakilishi wadi, na sana nilikuwa kiongozi wa wengi katika bunge la Kirinyaga, na nilihusika pakubwa kumng'oa Ngambana ambaye alikuwa kwa wakati huo. Mstahiki Spika, kitu ambacho ningetaka kusema kwanza, kufikisha gavana ili anjibu mashtaka katika bunge la Seneti kupitia wakilishi wadi ni jambo moja ngumu sana. Ni jambo msaragambo. Mahali Mstahiki Spika inafika hata maisha ya wakilishi wadi inakuanga katika hatari, Mstahiki Spika. Lakini Mstahiki Spika, nimesikia tukiongea sana kuongea mambo ya dhuruthi mbili ya wale ambao wanafaa kupiga kura ili kumng'oa gavana. Lakini Mstahiki Spika, hii dhuruthi mbili ni ya nini? Ni kuni, ni wanyama ama ni watu? Kama dhuruthi mbili ambayo inahitajika ni wakilishi wadi ambao ni watu, hivyo ni kusema ni wakilishi wadi ambao walikuwa wamechaguliwa. Kama hawakuwa basi wangehusika, kwa sababu wale hawaku wakilishi wadi, kwa sababu ndio kuwa mwakilishi wadi lazima ukuje uchaguliwe na uwe upewe kiapo, Mstahiki Spika. Na Mstahiki Spika, mimi naona kama Mstahiki Spika, tukisema kwamba mbunge la gatuzi la Kisii lilikosea ama limekosea, itakuwa ni sawia na kuchinja bata kwa sababu ya kuharisha, na bata wote huharisha, Mstahiki Spika. Mstahiki Spika, ningetaka niseme kitu kingine, Mstahiki Spika. Mstahiki Spika, tunapochangia jambo kama hili na kusema kwamba linafaa ama linawiana na kwa muktadha wa kung'olewa kwa gavana wa Kericho, tutakuwa tunakosea mstahiki Speaker, kwa sababu tulipokuwa tunaongea mambo ya Kericho, wakilishi wandi ambao walikuwa wamehusika wote walikuweko, hakuna hata moja alikuwa anakosekana, na tulikuja tukang'amua mbivu na mbichi, kwa sababu tuliwaita wataalamu wakaweza pia kutuelezea kwa undani. Na kwa sababu mstahiki Speaker, tukisema ya kwamba tufanye uamuzi dakika hii bila kusikiza na tujue pia kuliendelea namna gani, naona ni kama haki itakuwa haijatendeka mstahiki Speaker. Kwa hivyo nilikuwa nakuomba mstahiki Speaker kwamba kama inawezekana jambo lililo mbele yetu likuje baada ya kusikiza pande zote mbili, ili tuweze kuwa na uwiano, itakuwa ni nzuri zaidi mstahiki Speaker. Na niseme uamuzi ambao tutafanya siku ya leo utakuwa ni uamuzi wa maseneta wote ambao katika bunge la Seneti, kwa sababu mstahiki Speaker, katika msako wa nyani ngedere hawezi kwepa. Kwa hivyo tukifanya uamuzi ambao tunafanya siku ya leo, ni vizuri tuhakikishe kwamba haki imetendeka katika wakilishi wandi wa kutoka eneo la Nyamira na pia kwa gavana ambaye ametoka katika eneo la Nyamira. Nikimalizia mstahiki Speaker, ni kwamba ni kweli kumekuwa na mambo mengi ambayo ilikuwa inaendelea katika gatuzi la Nyamira, na tukisema ya kwamba leo ambao tuko nao tuwanyime nafasi pia kuwasikiza, tutakuwa tumekosea. Na kama pia tutakuwa tunafanya uamuzi ambao unafanya wakilishi wandi wasikie kama wanachukuliwa kwa urahisi kama bei ya chumvi, itakuwa ni rahisi sana kwamba kwa siku zijazo hata kama gavana atakuwa amekosea, tutakuwa tayari tumewavunja moyo na watachukua hatua ambayo wamepewa kikatiba ya kuleta gavana hapa tuweze kusikiza na kuona na kung'amua mbivu na mbichi mstahiki Speaker. Kwa hivyo mstahiki Speaker, mimi naomba jambo moja tu, ikiwezekana kwa nguvu ulizopewa, kwa sababu ukonazo mstahiki Speaker na una uwezo, ili swala tulishughulikie likiwa la mwisho, ili tupate nafasi ya kila mtu kusikiza na kung'amua, itakuwa ni rahisi mstahiki Speaker. Na kama mstahiki Speaker hiyo haitawezekana, mimi kama seneta wa Kirinyaga sina mbudi kupinga, kwa sababu sitakuwa nimeridhishwa na yale matamshi ambayo nimeyasikia hapa siku ya leo. Najua mstahiki Speaker, katika siku tulio nazo siku hizi, katika siku hizi tuko mstahiki Speaker, ni ngumu sana kumshawishi mbwa kwamba asali ni tamu kushinda mfupa, na kwa hivyo nitaachia mstahiki Speaker.
Senator Omtata.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for the opportunity to comment on this motion. Mr. Speaker, I want to begin by associating myself with what Senator Soti said, that we run the risk of the House putting this motion to a vote, and if it votes to defeat the PO, which for practical purposes is turning out to be an application, not a pure PO, because if you listen to the county assembly, they disputed the facts that required a hearing. Much as we may not agree, what I look at, Mr. Speaker, there are two issues which are being conflated. There's the question of quorum. When is a house quorate to conduct business? And there is a house of threshold, and half the house was 24 senators were abducted, and 23 that remained. They will still have the quorum to conduct business, the 23, but the threshold that there should be a supermajority which would require 33 senators, like in this house, 15 senators would sit and transact business, because the quorum for this house is 15 senators. If it's the National Assembly, the quorum is 50 MPs. Members of the National Assembly, they would sit and transact business. But when there is a requirement for a supermajority, it's a supermajority of the whole House. Doesn't matter whether there's a seat that is vacant or not. And even if you go to the law and the interpretation of statutes and stuff, you'll find that a vacancy on a board or a vacancy in a house, for as long as that vacancy does not affect the quorum, that house is quorate to conduct business. The challenge of the quorate house now is to realize the threshold for passing a motion. And if you look at our constitution article, I think it's Article 121, addresses quorum. Article 122 addresses threshold. And I believe that for us to be able to ventilate this question very well, I would associate myself with Senator Osoti to request that the current motion, which is really putting us in a straitjacket, be withdrawn, and we be allowed to ventilate this thing the way we did in Kericho 2, whereby we hear the entire motion and then the PO is placed after people have understood the issues. Then we vote first on the PO, and if it is sustained, the governor is acquitted. If it is defeated, then we go and vote on the individual, on the merits of the impeachment. But right now we run the risk of the PO being thrown out. Listen to the mood of the House, we discuss, we talk. The PO being thrown out, and then we shall be subsumed, we shall be forced to go into that motion and then vote without consideration of whether the thresholds required for the motion to be in this House to give us jurisdiction to address that motion was there or not. It is slightly dicey, and I'll be praying, Mr. Speaker, that either we amend this motion or we withdraw it and redraft it, because given the straitjacket I find myself in, I'm persuaded to defeat the motion, yet I'm out, but then also give the governor, keep the governor's rights protected, so that if the governor's case is that he has been dragged here through the window, not through the front door, as the majority leader put it, then we still have the opportunity to listen to that argument in detail. And I hope that this particular thing should have come as an application and not as a PO, because really it doesn't fit the description of a PO. But since we have argued it, it looks like an application for dismissal, and we could look at the application for dismissal after hearing. Thank you, Mr.
Senator Veronica.
Thank you for these opportunities, and I want to join my colleagues in opposing the motion that is on the floor of this House. Because impeachment proceedings, Honorable Speaker, are very serious proceedings. We have two warring parties at the County Assembly and the governor and the people of Nyamira. As you can imagine, Honorable Speaker, the people of Nyamira, some of them you support the impeachment, and there is another group that will be against the impeachment proceedings. Honorable Speaker, what has been brought before the floor of this House are allegations based on factual positions. There is the allegation that 4 members or 3 members' affidavits have been filed to demonstrate that this was not the position and that they never signed for this impeachment. Honorable Speaker, I'm asking myself, if this matter is determined on a preliminary, based on the preliminary objection, how will you scrutinize, how will we scrutinize the affidavits that have been brought to oppose some of the signatures that have purportedly signed in favor of these proceedings? Honorable Speaker, we need to help the counties and the county assemblies to take responsibility for every proceeding they undertake, especially proceedings for impeachment. Because, Honorable Speaker, the consequence of this impeachment proceeding succeeding is now taking the governor out of the office where he was voted in by a large majority in Nyamira scrutiny of those signatures that were supposedly done through proxy, and question why they were being done through proxy and whether they actually signed on behalf of the MCA and whether that was available to those members of county assembly. Just like in the case of Kericho County impeachment proceedings, that putting of that question must be deferred until that evidence is scrutinized by the senators, so that the people of Nyamira also feel and know that Senate has listened to both sides. Honorable Speaker, the principles of fair trial demands that both parties be guaranteed a right of being heard. Some of these issues, if they are swept under the carpet in such serious proceedings, which are going to the permanent record of this House, how will Senate explain itself later that these issues have been canvassed, have been considered, members have then determined after listening through to all the evidence that is available? So, Honorable Speaker, I would oppose this motion and beg that because we created a precedent using the impeachment proceedings from Kericho County against the current Kericho governor, we follow and abide to the same precedent, pend and defer the putting of the question in line with Standing Order 66.3 and allow this matter to be heard so that we can then determine whether the threshold was met or whether the threshold was not met. And I want to agree with my colleagues who have insisted that the 2/3 threshold cannot be a moving target. That 2/3 threshold, if the Assembly chooses to conduct proceedings, impeachment proceedings, when 3 seats are vacant, it behoves on them then to really make sure they get the support of those who are available within the House, if it's the 32, to still meet the constitutional threshold. Because if you will notice, Honorable Speaker, that threshold has not been given exceptions. So if it is a moving target, how then will you be determining that threshold? Does it mean if members are in the IALA games and we have impeachment?
Senator Faki.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii kuchangia hoja ya kuondoa mashtaka yanayomkabili gavana wa Nyamira kupitia kwa pingamizi ya kimsingi. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwamba kwanza ningejiunga na wenzangu kusema kwamba tayari tumeweza kuweka historia ama precedent kuhusiana na masuala haya. Ameweza kuikiuka historia hiyo kwa kuleta mswada ambao iwapo Mwomi Nyaribo. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, mswada huu kwanza una makosa, na ningekubaliana na Senator Omtata, Senator Usosi kwamba mswada huu unatakana kufanywa marekebisho, ama sivyo basi utumie mamlaka yako kama Spika kupitia kanuni namba 66(3) kwa swala la kupigia kura mswada huu liwekwe mpaka mwisho baada ya kusikiza kesi hii. Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo la pili ni kwamba kuna mambo ambayo yamezungumzwa hapa na pande zote mbili, ambapo mambo yale yatahitajia ushahidi. Kwa mfano, kumeambiwa kwamba kuna viapo vya wabunge 4 wa kaunti ya Nyamira kusema kwamba hawakuhudhuria si jopo la usawa, yani sio jopo la equity, zote an equity tribunal. Hii ni sheria ambayo inaturuhusu sisi kusikiza masuala ya impeachment kulingana na katiba na vile vile sheria ile inayosimamia serikali za county. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi napinga hoja hii vile ambavyo imewekwa kwa sasa, na kwamba tutapiga kura kukataa kutamatishwa kwa mswada huu katika wakati huu. Lazima tusikize ushahidi ambao utaletwa kwa pande zote mbili, kwa sababu tumeacha kazi zote nyingine ambazo tungekuwa nazo kuanzia leo na kesho ili kusikiza kesi hii. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hiyo.
Senator Bass.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want also to add my points. Honorable Speaker, as you are aware, I think this business of BOs has become too much in this House. We had a problem in Solo, the Kericho 2, and now Nyamira. It seems the assemblies have some gaps in terms of legal knowledge. And they have so many, every time they're very senior members of the legal fraternity, legal councils. And I think it would have been good for them to before they came here, they put their house into order. Because every time we have a PO, just because of threshold business. And that shouldn't be happening out. Because the kind of people that represent, like again, the assemblies should be able to solve that kind of problem before they come to this house. Honorable Speaker, Nyamira per se, I've had interacted with them, especially the assembly, and there was a problem one time, and we remember that we brought that pot here. Nyamira, the former speaker, was removed forcefully from the office, and the current speaker was there illegally for some time until it was approved later, because he was appointing himself as a speaker while he's still an MCA. Honorable Speaker, I can see the same problems may be happening to the governor also. And I think we need to at least be able, the lacuna that is up there, meeting the thresholds, and in terms of the process, we need, as a Senate, I think we need to intervene and have the assemblies on these matters. As it is, every day is a PO, and the problem actually could be genuine or not genuine. One other thing, Honorable Speaker, Nyamira, I think, I don't know whether it's Kisii or Nyamira, there were three MCA's elections for 3 years, and maybe what's happening, because one, I'm told one died, one resigned, and therefore, the question is, if somebody dies, and then you remember how long it took this country to form IBCs to be appointed. It took quite some time. So what happens now to the assembly? Must you wait for that threshold, or they can still do their business within the limits, the people they have in that place? So that needs also to be answered, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this matter requires a serious legal interpretation. Because we also need to at least get what are we going to do if somebody died and the IBC was not there, the elections are not done. So what happens? Can you go and stop the business of the house? So I think we need to talk, this house needs to also discuss on that and help this, the matter. Honorable Speaker, the people of Nyamira, I think, deserve to hear to conclusive the problem of this issue. Whether the PO is there or not, I believe the Nyamira people requires to listen and to hear both sides of the stories. And therefore, I will advise the assembly members and their legal team to be given time to also present their case, so that we don't get this kind of problems always. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I oppose the PO motion.
Senator Bertus Akin. Senator Kavindu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. This motion, to me, is a bit complicated because the threshold was not met according to the numbers that has been given. We are given 35 MCRs, and 24 would have voted if they met the threshold. But then we didn't get that number. Mr. Speaker, I know there are issues according to how the issues were read. There are issues at Nyamira. But Mr. Speaker, if we go ahead and listen, like some of us have said, if we go ahead and listen to this matter, and then we find the governor guilty at the end, and we've not dealt with this, what will happen? Will we impeach the governor without the MCRs meeting the threshold? Mr. Speaker, I would say that if the county assembly has a case, they should, because with the 32 members of county assembly, they would have still gotten the 24, which is the threshold of the MCRs to impeach the governor. I think so that we don't repeat the same mistake that was done in this house by impeaching Waititu and Songo without
meeting the threshold because of some pressure from somewhere, like the majority has said. We should be very clear in what we are doing in this house and let them go back and bring the threshold that is needed. I support this motion, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mofire.
Honorable Speaker, from the onset, I want to oppose the motion. I'm opposing the motion, Honorable Speaker. You know, we Kenyans around this house with very high esteem. The Senate has been described as one of the most sober houses for the last few years that I've been around. We have gained a lot of respect across the country, even internationally. Honorable Speaker, we are the Ghanaians. We are people who are supposed now to check on devolution, especially to our young brothers in the county assemblies. Honorable Speaker, I don't want to, as I said, to create a precedent which could be a bit untidy, where we seem to be stumbling block for the county assemblies to process their oversight responsibilities in the respective county assemblies. If you look at some of these allegations that have been leveled against the governor, some of them are so gross, and it will be very unfortunate for us as a house to terminate the hearing of the entire process at this stage, casualties. It's a lifetime issue that can curtail somebody's career. We as the custodians of devolution, we must be very, very, very much alert to devolution and to checking on the oversight. So, Honorable Speaker, I would suggest that we allegations, because I've just captured, there are some allegations that some people saw and they never vote. We need to even have a document examiner. We need to have an expert to verify whether those allegations that have been brought by those who allege that they never voted are true. Because, Honorable Speaker, we have processed 3 POs here. If you listen to Isiolo now, and there's so many other counties that we have done, we must be very clear on what we are doing, Honorable Speaker. Let us be very, 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 very frank. Let's be very sincere. Let's be very bold on both sides, because we also need to protect the career of the governor. We also need to protect the oversight and responsibility of the county assemblies across the country. So, Honorable Speaker, from the onset, I oppose the motion.
Senator Shakila Abdallah.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika. Mimi pia nasimama kupinga mswada huu. Mheshimiwa Spika, hili jumba tumeletewa kesi hii ni ya 3 sasa. Tukiitupa ya kwanza ikiwa Isiolo, Kericho na hii tunataka kuzitupa ama tumezitupa kwa vigezo za vizingiti, ambapo vizingiti zinapigiwa kura yake na kesi zinapigiwa kura yake. Kwa nini tusisikilize hii kesi tukahakikisha tumewapatia haki watu wa Nyamira, wamejihisi kwamba wamesikilizwa na wamepata haki, kuliko kusema tuitupe hii kesi kwa vigezo za vizingiti kabla kesi haijasikizwa. Na imekuwa ni mtindo hapa sasa, ni kama itaendelea kuwa mtindo, ni mara ya 3 sasa, hii ni kesi ya 3. Tunaitupa kwa vigezo za vizingiti bila kusikiliza kesi zenyewe ambazo kwamba watu wako na issues huko mashinani ambao kwamba imewafanya walete hizo issue hapa Senate. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi ningeomba, kwa sababu wale ma MCA ambao wamepiga kura kuambia semeni hamukupiga ama kitu chochote kifanyike, ili tu wakijua hicho ndicho kigezo kitakuja kuwaokoa hapa. Lakini wakijua hicho kigezo hakitawaokoa hapa, kesi itasikizwa, basi itakuwa ni lazima kesi isikizwe na haki ipatikane kwa ile county husika. Kwa ni mtindo wa kuweza kutupwa kesi zikiletwa hapa za impeachment kwa vigezo za vizingiti. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Senator Chute.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Number one, I want to support this motion, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, when I came to this house the first time, I was told this is House of Records. And Honorable Speaker, if we are going to follow the records, House of Records means if we do something today, tomorrow, we don't need to change our minds. And when I see my fellow senators in Kericho 1 and 2, we looked at the evidence, the threshold, and the threshold was not there. That even the majority leader was here, he was not happy when we said they must go back and meet the threshold. Our majority leader was not happy with us. But we said we must follow the law. Honorable Speaker, I really don't understand. When just some months ago, we looked at the issue of Kericho, and we said, please go and meet the threshold and come back here. It is not the responsibility of this House to add them 2 or 3 persons so that they can meet the threshold. No, this is not our job. Go and do your work. We are not going to do this work for you. Don't come to our door here bringing unfinished product to us. Bring finished product here. We'll listen. We'll look at the evidence and make a suggestion and decide. Honorable Speaker, I'm not a lawyer. Sometimes when these 2 lawyers are talking, we get confused. Who is saying what? But then, the issue is very simple mathematics. Class 1 student can do those mathematics and choose unfinished product to these county assemblies. And, Honorable Speaker, it is tiring and exhausting. What?
Yes, Senator Kamau.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Kuanzia bunge la magatuzi ya county kama county assemblies, Senate ama National Assembly, kwa Kiingereza ama kwa lugha ya Kiingereza tunasema the seat is vacant. Zetu tuko na habari ya kwamba watu 3, Mheshimiwa Spika, hawakuhusika katika upigaji wa kura kwa kupitia njia ya kwamba mmoja wao aliweza kuaga dunia na wengine 2. Mheshimiwa Spika, watu wa Nyamira na kwamba gavana amefanya kinyume. Naye gavana akona mambo anasema kwamba mimi sijafanya kinyume. So kufanyia haki ama haki kutendeka kwa watu wa Nyamira ni tuhakikisha kwamba bunge la seneti limeweza kusikiliza mahitaji na kilio cha watu wa Nyamira. Tunapoongea Mheshimiwa Spika, watu wa Nyamira hawapati maendeleo. County Assembly ya Nyamira imetuletea sisi kama majaji tuweze kuamua na kuona kwamba huyu gavana amefanya makosa. Tukimrudisha na makosa hayo Mheshimiwa Spika, watu wa Nyamira wataendelea kupata shida. So mimi naunga mkono kwamba Mheshimiwa Spika, tuendelee tusikize hii kesi ili tupatie watu wa Nyamira haki yao. Wacha gavana atuambie ni yapi hakufanya makosa. County Assembly ituambie gavana ni makosa gani alifanya. Mheshimiwa Spika, katika njia hiyo tutakuwa tunafanya haki na tutaingia katika vitambu vya kumbukumbu kwamba seneti hili Mheshimiwa Spika ni seneti ya haki na inalinda ugatuzi. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna jambo ambalo limejitokeza hapa ya kwamba kuna watu wengine waliandika affidavit ya kusema kwamba wapigiwe kura na wenzao. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nilikuwa mwakilishi ward katika kaunti ambayo nimetoka ya Lamu. Na Mheshimiwa Spika, hiyo sio jambo ngeni. Yanafanyika Mheshimiwa Spika, sisi katika seneti hii ndio tunatuma pesa mashinani. Na yale yanayotendeka huko mashinani, Mheshimiwa Spika, hatuletewi wakati yanafanyika kulingana na vile ambavyo wao wanataka. Lakini leo hii wametuletea kwa sababu imefanyika kinyume na vile ambavyo wangehitaji wao yafanyike. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nachukua nafasi hii kuwarai wabunge wa seneti hili ya kwamba Mheshimiwa Spika, tufanye haki kwa watu wa Nyamira. Sisi tulichukua kiapo hapa kwamba tutalinda katiba na kuizingatia. Kwa hivyo njia moja ya katiba ya kazi ambayo sisi tumepewa ni ya kupeleka pesa katika gatuzi zetu 47. Na Mheshimiwa Spika, tukipeleka hizo pesa katika gatuzi zetu 47, tuhakikishe zimefanyia wale wananchi kazi. Na kwa sasa Nyamira hakuna kazi inaendelea. Mheshimiwa Spika, wacha tuende full hearing, tusikize matatizo ambayo watu wa Nyamira wanaikumba ama wanapitia. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Senator Miraj Abdirai.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi niweze kutoa changizo zangu katika hoja ambayo imewasilishwa na kiongozi wa walio wengi katika bunge hili la Seneti. Niweze kusema ya kwamba napinga vikali kusimamishwa kwa kusikilizwa kwa hoja hii ya kumtimua madarakani gavana wa Nyamira. Kwa sababu haiwezekani Mheshimiwa Spika ya kwamba ma-MCA wetu wanajizatiti kuona ya kwamba wanafanya haki zao za kikatiba ya kuweza kuona ya kwamba haki inatendeka katika gatuzi yao, alafu inapofika katika bunge la Seneti tuwe sisi tunatumia vizingiti kukwamisha juhudi ambazo ma-MCA wamefanya kule mashinani. Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka ieleweke ya kwamba bunge hili la Seneti linakaa kutetea hoja na haki na kusimamia katiba yetu ya Kenya. Ndiposa nasema kama tulivyofanya awali, kwa sababu sisi wajumbe wa kuteuliwa na vyama vya kisiasa hatuna kura kujieleza kusema kwamba ndio makosa yameonekana ama hayakuonekana. Ni vyema basi na sisi tuweze kusikiza mashtaka yaliyosomwa. Na kwa kusema ukweli Bwana Spika, tangu nianze kukaa katika bunge hili mwaka wa 2022 sijawahi kusikia mashtaka yamesomwa mingi kama yale ambayo yamesomwa leo na gatuzi ya Nyamira. Ni dhahiri shahiri ya kwamba sisi ni wananchi ambao tunatunga sheria ili ziwe muongozo na sio tofauti ya hivyo. Haiwezekani ya kwamba kila siku tutakuwa tunawacha kusikiliza malalamishi ambayo yametoka kwa wananchi kupitia wawakilishi wadi wao kusema ya kwamba hapa kuna threshold haijakamilika. Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka niungane na viongozi wenzangu maseneta kusema ya kwamba ipo haja ya bunge la Seneti kusikiza kiukamilifu malalamishi yaliyoletwa na bunge la Nyamira ili tuweze kung'amua ni lipi baya na lipi zuri, na endapo ipo haja huko mbeleni basi tuweze kuamua ya kwamba kama threshold walifikisha ama hawakufikisha. Lakini itakuwa goji kiriba goji kila siku ma-MCA ward. Ukiangalia Bwana Spika, gatuzi zetu 6 kutoka Pwani, ma-MCA wetu wameogopa hata kubuni motion ya kuleta magavana hapa kwa sababu wana hofu. Kwa sababu wakati wewe kama mwakilishi wadi umehusika katika kuimpeach ama kumuondosha madarakani gavana, kunakuwa na matatizo mingi ambayo unapitia katika mabunge yale. Kwa hivyo ningeomba mimi nikishirikiana na wajumbe ambao wameongea mbeleni ya kwamba ningependa kusikiliza mashtaka ndio ili gavana aweze kujitetea au la. Asante Bwana Spika.
Senator Maruma Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to comment on the PO by the county executive or the governor. And we are given an opportunity to interpret the law and the standing orders of Nyamira County Assembly. On the first limb, Mr. Speaker, the standing order 62(7) states that motion passes by 2/3 of all the members of the county assembly. Now, what we are called to determine as Senate, Mr. Speaker, is what it means by all the members of the county assembly. If today, Mr. Speaker, you're told, bring all the members of the county assembly during the day of voting, you would bring 35 or 32. My view is you would bring 32 members because 3 were not there. Therefore, the threshold would be 2/3 of 32, Mr. Speaker. And we have dealt with the issue of decimals in dealing with the impeachment of Kericho. That when you have decimals, then you cannot have 1/3 of a human, then you round up. I heard Senator Charargei saying that we truncate. As a student of mathematics, Mr. Speaker, truncation means something very different. That we do away with that decimal part. But here, we are told that because you cannot have a decimal of a person, then we round up to the nearest human being. So if we had 35 people, Mr. Speaker, then 2/3 would be 23.33. Rounding up would get 24. But there is nowhere, Mr. Speaker, in the statute and in the standing orders where we have that magic number 24 explicitly stated. It is not there. So, Mr. Speaker, my view and my interpretation is that it is 2/3 of the members of the county assembly at the time of voting, and that time they were 32. The next limb of this PO, Mr. Speaker, is to determine whether or not it is allowable or completely disallowed to vote through proxy. Mr. Speaker, I've had arguments here that we have never voted through proxy in this House. In the last Parliament, while voting, I can't remember for which standing committee, we were allowed to vote by proxy. Members who were absent wrote letters and indicated how they wanted to vote for particular chairs and vice chairs of standing committees. So if it happened, then that precedence was set, Mr. Speaker. I would like to say, lastly, for want of a clear law on impeachment of governors, deputy governors, and other state officers, then let us listen to the second limb, especially whether or not the standing orders of the County Assembly of Nyamira and the relevant statutes and the Constitution completely disallow voting by proxy. When we listen to the whole motion, and also we try and see if you can subsume this second part, then you can be able to make a clear, we can be able to have a clear vision, a clear view of this matter and make our decision. But, Mr. Speaker, I'm extremely clear that the threshold was met, the 2/3 threshold was met, and so I oppose this motion, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Senator Sekirengu. Senator Medu John Muhia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to also weigh in on this matter. And Mr. Speaker, I look at Nyamira in a special lens from where I sit, because on this very house, Mr. Speaker, you know, there was a report that was laid by the Committee on Devolution that we were discussing on this very house of a county assembly that had 2 leaderships, a county assembly that had 2 speakers, and were even being invited to make a decision between these 2 warring groups, which group actually is the legitimate group, Mr. Speaker. So therefore, in my mind, Mr. Speaker, Nyamira is not any other county. And that is why I have been persuaded by the arguments of my colleagues who have actually said that we have not been invited to make a decision on the removal from office by this particular motion. What we have been invited is to make a determination on the preliminary objection by the defense, Mr. Speaker. And this decision, we shall make it. But the plea that we are making, and I want to join my colleagues who have actually made that plea, the plea we are making is, Mr. Speaker, we can make this decision not now, but at the very tail end, after listening to the substance of the materials that have been brought and the evidence that has been adduced by the members of the County Assembly. Mr. Speaker, we must also be careful in the way we prosecute these matters of impeachment. Because, Mr. Speaker, this mandate, we derive it from Article 96 of the Constitution of Kenya on oversight, Mr. Speaker. And we must be careful not to be seen to be pretending on how county assemblies carry out their business, Mr. Speaker. And we cannot be seen to be the ones that are discouraging county assemblies from carrying out oversight mandates over their governors, Mr. Speaker. Because a county assembly will just say, if we take these impeachment matters to the Senate, these people will not even look at the materials that we shall adduce. These people will not even look at the evidence that we have adduced. These people will actually throw out our case on technicalities of threshold and numbers, Mr. Speaker. Numbers are a constitutional requirement. I agree with my colleagues who have actually said numbers are a constitutional requirement. There is a requirement that a certain threshold must be met. That is actually spot on. But, Mr. Speaker, even as it is a requirement, the baby is in the Senate, Mr. Speaker. The matter is already in the Senate, Mr. Speaker. Why don't we just go to full hearing, listen to the case as it is, Mr. Speaker, because we shall be called to make a determination on this particular motion. We shall ultimately be asked to make a determination on whether the threshold was met or if it was not met. If members of this House carry that motion, that the threshold was not met, then the evidence that we shall have had will not be of, we shall not take it into account when making that particular decision. But Mr. Speaker, we need to encourage our county assemblies. That is why I was also persuaded, when the mover of the motion was moving this motion, that we need to revive back the legislative summit that was there, Mr. Speaker, I think 2 or 3 years ago, so that we can share experiences with our colleagues at the county assemblies. Mr. Speaker, the responsibilities of county assemblies are oversight, representation, and legislation. It is just the same thing that we do, but we are doing it at the national level, Mr. Speaker. So I would want to persuade my colleagues. Let us allow this team from the county assembly come and tell us why they actually feel that Governor Nyaribo is not fit to lead the county of Nyamira. And then the county of Nyamira, the defense team of the governor, will tell us why they actually think that this is witch out, or the evidence that they shall bring to this House, Mr. Speaker, so that we listen to all the issues that will be canvassed on this House, Mr. Speaker. We cannot make it our habit, Mr. Speaker, of killing impeachment motions at the inception. Just when the people come here, the first thing that we deal with is a preliminary objection. Then we tell people, just go back. We shall discourage even MCAs from carrying out their business, Mr. Speaker. There are people who have put their mind in preparing the documents that are before us, Mr. Speaker. What is the problem in us listening to them? What is the problem in the evidence being laid before this House? If anything, Mr. Speaker, it's only 2 days. It's today, tomorrow. And I'm sure most of the senators who are here are actually ready to take business. You know, Mr. Speaker, the senators that are in this House, because I've been here, I have seen them prosecute business until very late in the night. So nobody is in a hurry. Nobody is in a hurry to be told that let us vote for the preliminary objection and go home. Go where? We have prosecuted matters on impeachment here during Christmas. You are aware, Mr. Speaker, during the Meru impeachment. We were here around Christmas time. And we can carry out this business for as long as we are required. The Senate is a house of agile and has proven itself time and again that we can make sound decisions, Mr. Speaker. So on behalf of the people of Nyamira, those who would want to know why was our governor taken to the Senate, how would they know why their governor was taken to the Senate if we just vote out this matter at the preliminary level, Mr. Speaker? Let them get to hear what are these accusations, so that even as they go home, whether they want, if we shall vote for, to say that the threshold was not met, even when they go home, the people from Nyamira will actually know that even though the numbers were not met, I want to persuade my colleagues, Mr. Speaker, let us proceed to full hearing. Let us listen to this matter. Nobody has been asked at this point, and I want to repeat, Mr. Speaker, nobody has been asked to either vote for the removal or of a decision on a technicality. And we want to ask is that you can allow us, Mr. Speaker, to make this decision after we have had the proceedings from both parties. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Senator Wamatinga Wahome.
Thank you very much, Ms. We've seen impeachment motions brought before this House, and we've tended to make decisions on the preliminary objection. Speaker, I do want to agree, yes, it is a decision that ought to be, that have been forwarded before this August House. Shouldn't we give the MCAs, even from the other counties, maybe to learn, to benchmark with what has been going on in other counties, Mr. Speaker? I do believe, and I'm of the conviction, Mr. Speaker, that our preliminary objection and making a decision and stopping the impeachment at that time has eroded the very democratic space that we want to expand, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I want to concur with those colleagues who say, yes, let's listen to the matter. Let's listen to what they say, the MCAs. Let the Kenyans listen to the accusations that have been leveled against the governor. And this, Mr. Speaker, it is not a verdict whether the governor is guilty or not. It is also an opportunity, Mr. Speaker, that we must not deny Kenyans to learn. How should you do your things? How do you do to get them right? How do you get them wrong, Mr. Speaker? But, Mr. Speaker, for this House to be seen to be delivering on its mandate, it is imperative, Mr. Speaker, that we give the county assemblies the opportunity to also execute their mandate without having to gang them, Mr. Speaker, on arrival. Mr. Speaker, killing an impeachment motion on preliminary objection, it is declaring the baby is dead on arrival. Mr. Speaker, it is the high time that we as a House, we give the MCAs an opportunity to be heard. It is the high time, Mr. Speaker, that we give the Kenyans an opportunity to see the accusations that are being leveled against the governors. It is also the high time, Mr. Speaker, that we give those governors who are listening on the things that they should do and how they should do it and what they should not do, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, it is my deep conviction, Mr. Speaker, that this House will be doing a great disservice to the national, to the county assemblies if we terminate this matter on preliminary objection. We have done it before, Mr. Speaker, yes. There was contention and there were contentious issues, Mr. Speaker. But I keep on asking myself, didn't we do the fellow Kenyans injustice by terminating the matter prematurely without them even getting an opportunity to know what the accusations were and maybe even learn from that, Mr. Speaker? And I'm looking this and talking about this, Mr. Speaker, as somebody who's in the future would want to be a governor, and I want to listen to the things that the governor did right, that the governor did wrong, and maybe things that I ought to do differently, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I say this as an opportunity, Mr. Speaker. I say this as an open book where Kenyans can get to listen, where Kenyans can get to interrogate, and most importantly, where even now the county assembly and the executive, in their prosecuting the matter, they'll listen to themselves and even ask them the questions, what is it that we could have done differently for us to avoid coming to this August House? Mr. Speaker, indeed it is imperative. Some of us are not lawyers, but then you do not need to be a lawyer to listen to things that made the process of getting a governor up to this point, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, it is my humble submission that we should let this matter go to full hearing so that we can get an opportunity to see what is it. And most important, Mr. Speaker, lessons learned, Mr. Speaker. And for those who are aspiring, especially the young readers, who in the future would want to be great leaders in this country, know what is it that they ought to do differently. Mr. Speaker, terminating the matter on the preliminary objection will have failed in the sense that we'll have not given these young Kenyans, we'll have not given the MCAs an opportunity to present their case, and most importantly, also their executive to say, why did they commit or omit? This, Mr. Speaker, speak to the MCAs and even listen to the executive, but most importantly, make the Kenyans feel that justice has been served. Mr. Speaker, I submit.
Senator Keroche.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving this opportunity. And as I have listened, the other senators, my colleagues, what they are suggesting, I think all of us, anytime we see MCAs bringing their governor for impeachment, we know the effort that they've put to ensure that they bring their governor for this impeachment. The only problem when I listen to whatever is on the floor, it is to ask ourselves whether the threshold was met. And then I hear what the senators are saying, that we listen the whole process and see whether there was enough grounds for the impeachment of the governor of Nyamira. I know our work is to impeach. Immediately after this, so MCAs bring the governor for impeachment is for us to listen, to ensure that we listen and see whether they meet the ground, whether there is enough ground for impeaching the governor. The problem now is what I hear, is that we all listen, the process, and then at the end of it, we say that they didn't meet the threshold. The public outside there, they will not know the difference. They only know that the governor of Nyamira did this and this. And then immediately the senators say that they didn't meet the threshold. The MCAs didn't meet the threshold. So when the governor goes home and we didn't do the right thing that was supposed to be done, I don't know what senators are saying. So for me, I would think that we listen, yes, but we ensure if there is enough ground to impeach the governor, I think the governor should be sent home. But if there is not enough, then we can now debate the two. So mine is just to say that congratulations MCAs for even taking that effort to ensure that you can check at what is happening at your county and to ensure that you can bring the governor here. But because we come from counties where there is a lot of misappropriation of the funds, but the MCAs have never taken even an effort to bring the governor for the impeachment at the Senate. So thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you.
Senator Kathuri Murungi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, also for giving me an opportunity to comment on this motion on the floor of this Senate. Mr. Speaker, you know we have a clear mandate as the Senate. And the role of the Senate, and Article 96(1), the role of the Senate is to represent the counties and to serve to protect the interests of the counties and their governments. Mr. Speaker, Nyamira County is in ICU. This is the county which has operated 2 county assemblies. This is the county which has impeached the governor. This is, I think, the third time, if I'm not wrong. The first 2 impeachments, the duration was a bit low. But this one, the duration is less by 0.7, Mr. Speaker, in the governmental relations. Mr. Speaker, when I listened to the preliminary objection, PO, the argument from the governor signed, and submissions also from the assembly signed, both the signs are valuable case, Mr. Speaker. Because if the duration, according to the legal counsel of the governor, is 35, for sure the arithmetic becomes 23.3, which is 24 MCs. And if you listen to the other side, council representing the assembly, if 3 MCAs are not around and the MCAs are now 32, still his case is arguable. So, Mr. Speaker, this direction, the lacuna, is a bit tricky. You know, I represent Meru County, Mr. Speaker, and my former governor was impeached 3 times. I know how Nyamira County is feeling. I know the feeling of the County Assembly of Nyamira. So, Mr. Speaker, actually I don't want even to urge the members to wait until we hear the full case and then make determination of the PO at the end of the hearing. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask members to mobilize themselves and vote now so that this PO can be defeated. And then we go to the full hearing. And then also we vote after the full hearing. We vote now for the real matters that have been submitted to us, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when this case was brought to the Senate, I am the one who read actually this case to this floor. For almost that minutes, Mr. Speaker, without taking a breath. So the issues which has been raised by the County Assembly of Nyamira are so many and grave. And Mr. Speaker, I think the only thing we can do is to listen to these issues. So because the Senate should not be dwelling so much on the POs, but on the substance matter of the impeachment. And Mr. Speaker, by this we could have done so much if we went that way. But all the same, Mr. Speaker, let me request honorable senators, let us save Nyamira County. Let us listen to the issues raised by the Nyamira County residents through their representatives in the County Assembly. So, Mr. Speaker, without much ado, because I've made my mind on how I will vote, I will urge my colleagues, if technically we can be able to proceed with this hearing by voting, I should guide them because, Mr. Speaker, sometimes when you are named, sometimes you give advice to the junior senators. Let us vote in a way that we will proceed to hear the full hearing and vote for the counts that have been submitted to this Senate, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
Senator Mogeni. Senator Mogeni. Or you've already taken to the floor. You may proceed.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, a doctor cannot treat himself. As the Senator for Nyamira, I've sat here and listened keenly how my colleagues, senators, will provide wisdom in a manner that balances the interests of my county assembly and the interests of my governor. Mr. Speaker, having sat the whole morning and this afternoon, I have no doubt that the matter before you is fairly complex, but it requires Solomonic wisdom. If we are not careful, Mr. Speaker, we may end up damaging the reputation of this House. In 2013, Mr. Speaker, Chief Justice Mutunga was faced with an application by the late Prime Minister Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga was denied that chance. Up to today, Chief Justice Mutunga has not recovered. I think, Mr. Speaker, if we were to apply some delicate balance and make a decision that is just, a decision that is measured, a decision that is creative in ensuring that we are seen to be a house that dispenses justice, let us allow members of the county assembly, can you add me? Oh, sorry. Let us allow members of the county assembly to present their case, Mr. Speaker, they be heard, and then the senators will be given an opportunity to pass a verdict, Mr. Speaker. Because, Mr. Speaker, remember, in law, we normally say there should be parity in reasoning. I'm sure members of the County Assembly of Nyamira were watching on TV when we were faced with similar situations with the situation in Kericho, my neighboring county. And, Mr. Speaker, you ruled and said, let us deal with the PO after hearing evidence from the County Assembly of Kericho. That's what you directed, Mr. Speaker. So I'm urging you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and my colleague senators, that let us apply the same standards for the county of Nyamira. The way Kericho was heard, the way the governor was given a chance to prosecute his PO, and a vote is taken, that will be the fairest decision. And I'm telling you, Mr. Speaker, the people I represent, the people of Nyamira, will respect this house, and we will all walk tall. But if we reduce this impeachment to a matter where you can block it through legal technicalities, Mr. Speaker, we may risk damaging the reputation of this house. Finally, Mr. Speaker, remember that we are guided by our constitution, Mr. Speaker. If you read paragraph 2A of the third schedule, the obligation that is placed on this house is the moment you receive an impeachment before this house, your obligation as senators is to investigate into the matter, Mr. Speaker. And investigating a matter includes, Mr. Speaker, inquiring whether the threshold was met, Mr. Speaker. And then, remember, Mr. Speaker, we have our constitution on fair hearing. Mr. Speaker, if you read Article 50, it says every person has a right to have any dispute that can be resolved by application of the law to be heard in a fair and public hearing before any impartial tribunal. We are an impartial tribunal, Mr. Speaker. Let us be fair to both parties. We hear the county assembly, we also hear the governor, after which all of you will be invited to make a decision, and that decision will be respected by the people of the great county of Nyamira. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senate Majority Leader, as the mover of this motion, you may now proceed to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my colleagues who have taken their time to speak to this very important matter. This is not a light issue, Mr. Speaker. It involves the impeachment of a governor and a county assembly that has taken a position, not once, twice, but I hear 3 times. On 2 occasions, that matter never got to this House. This time, the matter is before us. Mr. Speaker, I'll try and be brief, but also try and explain some of the things which I agree and disagree with my colleagues. Mr. Speaker, for example, a case is being made here that because in Kericho 2, we subsumed the PO into the main matter, therefore, that ought to be the same principle that applies this time. And many of my colleagues have advanced that argument. But, Mr. Speaker, it is important to draw a distinction between Kericho 1 and Kericho 2. In Kericho 1, Mr. Speaker, we were dealing with a point of fact, a point of law, Mr. Speaker, whether the threshold was 33 or 32, Mr. Speaker. And we made the determination in this House, Mr. Speaker, that we need to make that determination whether threshold is 32 or 33. And I had explained earlier in my moving notes, Mr. Speaker, how we arrived at that particular decision. In Kericho 2, Mr. Speaker, why it was not possible to terminate the hearings at PO level, Mr. Speaker, is because it was an argument, Mr. Speaker, on matters that were material to the case, whether individuals voted or not. There was no question of quorum, Mr. Speaker. Remember, we had affidavits from members from the county assembly, and the same members had affidavits in the governor's case. And therefore, it was important for us to listen to the material evidence that had been presented before us so that we establish whether these members voted or not. In fact, Mr. Speaker, I dare say, because I listened to the counsel for the governor in raising this PO, Mr. Speaker, instead of arguing for both, because if you see the bundle of documents, and I took time to read the documents that have been shared with us, Mr. Speaker, he anchored his PO on only one item instead of the 2. There is a dispute in this Nyamira case on whether these 4 MCAs voted or not. There are affidavits here of them claiming that they didn't. But that matter is not yet before this House. I believe, should we get to the point where we go to full trial, Mr. Speaker, then we will take the time to assert, Speaker, is it 35 or is it 32? And we have made the case, Mr. Speaker, that the Senate is what it is today, Mr. Speaker, because of the magical 24. The most difficult thing to achieve. That is why for 10 straight weeks, Mr. Speaker, a government combined together with opposition under what was then referred to as the handshake administration, Mr. Speaker, could not make it to pass a retrogressive formula against the people of Kenya. That issue of threshold is extremely important. It will be unfortunate if on the same floor of the House, Mr. Speaker, today we tell our county assemblies that it doesn't matter, that this constitutional principle varies, that because at the time of voting you are only 32, therefore quorum can shift. Mr. Speaker, somebody made a very good argument that for the last 10 months we have had 46 delegations in this House instead of 47 because of the unfortunate demise of our colleague, Senator Cheptumo. And until yesterday when we saw in the new senator, Mr. Speaker, we have been voting. How have we been voting, members? I don't recall a time where we have passed any item, 23 of us. We have still insisted that the constitutional principle of at least half the counties, which is 24, Mr. Speaker, has been applying. Surely, what will we be telling county assemblies today if we turn our backs and tell them that if for one reason or the other you are lesser than the constitutional threshold of what is the correct number of your county assembly, you can vote and impeach a governor and just bring it here? Honestly, good people, in good conscience, I cannot support such a position. That is not to say that there are no serious issues in Nyamira. But I made the case earlier, Mr. Speaker, that unfortunately, this House can only preside over a matter when it is properly before it. This matter, Mr. Speaker, in all honesty, is not proper before us. Because number one, there is even a dispute about the issue of proxy voting. But that matter hasn't been raised as yet. We will get to that matter should we get to that particular matter. Mr. Speaker, I didn't know that your Deputy Speaker can be a heckler. Because, Mr. Speaker, it is...
Order, honorable senators, order. Senator from Meru County, when your colleague is speaking,
yes,
do not engage them unless you engage them through the chair.
But he's shouting to my ear.
Proceed to conclude.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know why.
And Honorable Senator for Kericho.
I withdraw. I withdraw the one heckler. I withdraw.
Good.
I will now proceed. I withdraw and apologize to my good friend.
You may now proceed.
I have withdrawn. Mr. Speaker.
Now, Senator for Meru. The Senator for Kericho has apologized and withdrawn. And I think that's good enough. That's fair enough. Proceed and conclude.
You know, he's an elder, and sometimes he brings me very nice things from Meru, Mr. Speaker, which I don't want him to deny me now that we are about to go on recess, Mr. Speaker. Anyway, the point that I was trying to make, good colleagues, is that I have also listened to people make the argument that why don't we hear the entirety of this particular matter so that eventually we will decide, having been informed of all the facts that are before us. But, Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, the law is the law. The reason, I believe there is a problem in almost every county. The reason why your governor is not here is perhaps because the few members of the county assembly who maybe have seen those issues and are speaking about them, Mr. Speaker, know that they are yet to achieve the threshold that is needed to bring a governor before this House. Mr. Speaker, I want to plead with our colleagues that this matter is before us. However, Mr. Speaker, as I say that, I am conscious of the fact that serious points of law have also been raised. And I will not be dismissive of my colleagues who hold a contrary view, that perhaps it will make more sense if we took time, Mr. Speaker, and consult, first as a caucus, as a jury, then come back to make a decision. There has even been suggestion, Mr. Speaker, I think it was a senator for Homa Bay, who argued that why don't we invoke the provisions of Standing Order number 66.3, Mr. Speaker, that we hold the putting of a question. The unfortunate thing, Mr. Speaker, is that in your earlier communication, you made it clear that this is a bridge we must cross before we get to the case. So even if we invoke that standing order, then it will mean we rise today, we go home, then tomorrow when we meet at 9 a.m., we will begin from this very place. I want to propose something which if you colleagues can agree to, then perhaps we can try that one. Why don't we, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, because I also want to be persuaded further by my colleagues who hold a contrary view to what I believe, Mr. Speaker, because maybe due to the exigencies of time, they were not able to explain themselves properly, that we retreat, Mr. Speaker, as a House, reflect, that you defer the putting of the question for a further 1 hour. We retreat as a House, consult, listen to each other.
Order, honorable senators. That request has not been made to you. It has been made to me. So I will rule on it. Proceed. Proceed, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the decision of the application of 66.3, Mr. Speaker, is to the Speaker of the House. And that's why I am making this appeal to you eventually. If eventually, Mr. Speaker, members during that consulting session think otherwise, we will come back and report to you that either we are ready to vote or not ready to vote, and we'll take a decision and see what is good for the country and what is good for the county of Nyamira. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I beg to reply and make that particular request of Standing Order number 66.3 that they be applied for the next 1 hour for us to consult. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gazette notice. We gazetted 2 days to hear and determine this matter. That is today and tomorrow. Now today has been expended on this PO. It means therefore that in the event that this PO is overruled, we have to conclude this matter. We need to start the case today, go all the way to midnight, come back tomorrow at 9, push it all the way to even 4 a.m., 6 a.m. on Friday morning, because those are the only days that have been gazetted. And therefore, Senate Majority Leader, we have to determine this matter, this PO, today. We cannot determine this PO tomorrow. I will therefore accede to your request and defer the putting of the question for 1 hour. After 1 hour, we will reconvene and I'll put the question on this particular motion. We determine it. If it's upheld, then of course the proceedings terminate immediately. If it's overruled, then we start hearing the opening statements. After the opening statement, the County Assembly will be given 5 hours to put their case. So we will rise. In the event that is overruled, we will push it until midnight today. And tomorrow we'll have to take it beyond midnight because we need to conclude this tomorrow. If it means going all the way to 3 a.m., 4 a.m., or 6 a.m. So I will suspend. Yes, Senator. Yes, Senator Boni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thanks for the chance. We are going in the same place we've been before. That when it is reaching the time for the critical decisions to be made, we start rushing because of, in the interest of time. Mr. Speaker, because you have acceded to that request, I request that you weigh the possibility of making further gazettement so that the people of Nyamira...
Senator Boni, you're
yes,
anticipating debate because we don't know the outcome of this PO. And therefore, I cannot prepare for another gazette notice. Let us cross the bridge when you get there.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
In the event that you overrule this PO, then you can rise and put that proposal to the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah. So, honorable senators, kindly arise. This session is suspended for 1 hour. We shall therefore come back here at exactly 7:30.
Sha Ceramics nigobono yago keirie rigori riechitile cha Twyford icho bono igachi konigwa chishiringi chimisano nebere nemerongebere chuka ase a box ya 30 by 30 nigobako ni achimabol bunabono chite table taps koni bari chirangi aina chonse koni bari solid doors PVC ceiling babugata chitile chechinyasi naboigo chechi floor MBF pyramid gypsum cornice filled fables babugata chi double corner shelf a towel rack chi scrap holders chi soap dispenser naboigo chi shower